For millennia, the skies have been a canvas for the unknown. But what if the secrets of ancient civilizations, etched in stone and buried in ruins, hold the key to mysteries that modern governments have worked to conceal? UFO sightings, strange encounters, and unexplained phenomena date back far beyond the technological age, and now, whispers of hidden files suggest that the US government may be holding the answers. What if these secrets trace back to the dawn of time itself? Secrets that could rewrite everything we know about our history and our future. High in the remote mountains of Tibet, where the earth seems to touch the sky, there lies a mystery that has baffled researchers, historians, and archaeologists for decades. In 1938, a group of explorers unearthed something unlike anything they had ever seen: round, disc-like stones, some no larger than a dinner plate, others as large as a wheel. These were the Dropa stones, named after the people who were said to have lived in the area, the Dropa tribe. The discs, some with intricate carvings on their surface, appear to be an ancient relic of an unknown culture. But what makes them so captivating, and indeed mysterious, is not just their unusual form, but the cryptic messages inscribed upon them. The markings, believed to be a form of writing, resemble neither known Chinese nor Tibetan characters. To this day, no one has been able to fully decipher their meaning. And yet, the possibility that they contain information about a civilization older than anything previously known draws the curious and the skeptical alike. Scholars have attempted to explain the origins of the Dropa stones through the lens of more conventional historical narratives. Some suggest that the discs are simply the work of a local group, possibly an early tribal society, that created them as part of a religious or ceremonial tradition. Others propose that they were intended as a form of communication, perhaps between distant groups or with a civilization that has since disappeared. However, there are other theories, more speculative but no less intriguing, that suggest a different, far more extraordinary origin. Some have posited that the Dropa stones could be evidence of contact with extraterrestrial beings. This hypothesis began to gain traction after stories circulated that the stones were discovered alongside the remains of individuals who were described as having unusual features: short stature, large heads, and almond-shaped eyes. The carvings on the discs were said to depict figures descending from the sky, leading some to wonder if these ancient relics could be records of an ancient encounter with beings from another world. Adding fuel to the fire of these speculations is the story of the Dropa people themselves. According to some accounts, they were said to be a mysterious and isolated group, with physical features and cultural practices that set them apart from the surrounding populations. In some versions of the tale, the Dropa tribe is even said to have communicated in a language that was unrecognizable to the surrounding Tibetans. Did the tribe have contact with visitors from the stars? Or is this simply the stuff of myth? The mystery deepens when we examine the findings of the 1960s expeditions, where further study of the Dropa stones reportedly revealed strange, unexplained markings and patterns embedded into the discs. Some reports claim that when the stones were played on a gramophone, they emitted a sound resembling a form of communication or signal, a phenomenon that, if true, would raise even more questions. Were the discs designed as instruments of communication, perhaps meant to convey knowledge from beyond our planet? Or were they simply symbolic artifacts, the meaning of which has been lost to time? Despite the wealth of speculation, hard evidence for any of these theories remains elusive. No government or scientific body has fully investigated the discs, and what few records exist of the stones are shrouded in mystery, with some reports suggesting that certain records were even suppressed or destroyed. The strange nature of the Dropa stones, coupled with their obscure origins, leaves us with more questions than answers. Were they truly created by a lost civilization, possibly with knowledge from beyond the earth? Or is their story a product of myth and imagination woven into the fabric of local folklore? The lack of conclusive evidence leaves the mystery unsolved, and the Dropa stones remain an enigma, silent witnesses to a forgotten past, their true purpose still unknown. As we continue to probe the depths of history, we are reminded that some mysteries may be destined to remain just that, unsolved, elusive, and waiting for the next generation of explorers to uncover their secrets. But for now, we are left to wonder, what do these ancient discs truly tell us? And who were the people who left behind such cryptic messages? As the sun sets over the sprawling sands of ancient Egypt, casting long shadows over the Great Pyramids and the majestic Nile, the past seems to whisper. Among the mysteries that have long intrigued scholars and enthusiasts alike, one stands out, an event so peculiar, so unsettling that it has captured the imagination of many for centuries. This event, recorded in the ancient Tulli Papyrus, might offer us a glimpse into a time when the skies above Egypt were not just the domain of the gods, but also of something far more otherworldly. The Tulli Papyrus is one of the most intriguing documents to have survived from ancient Egypt. Dated to around 1500 BC, it describes a strange celestial occurrence witnessed by the Egyptians, an event so bizarre that its details continue to provoke debate. The papyrus itself, now lost to time but referenced by several scholars, allegedly describes a series of fiery disks seen in the sky over Egypt, an appearance that doesn't quite align with the typical celestial phenomena of the time, such as comets or meteors. What was it that the ancient Egyptians saw on that day? According to the fragments that have been preserved, the papyrus recounts how a large number of fiery disks appeared in the sky, filling the air with light. These strange objects, described as circles of fire or fiery serpents, hovered in the heavens for a period of time before suddenly disappearing. The description of these disks bears a remarkable similarity to modern UFO sightings: bright, circular, and defying any known natural explanation. For many years, scholars have dismissed this document as mere myth or as a poetic embellishment, another example of the ancient Egyptians attributing extraordinary phenomena to the actions of their gods. It's not uncommon for ancient civilizations to record strange events with divine or supernatural interpretations, and so the Tulli Papyrus could easily be seen as one such account. However, as more attention has been paid to ancient texts over the past century, the description of these fiery disks has become a focal point of a much larger conversation. Could this be an early record of a UFO encounter? And if so, could the U.S. government be holding secret files on this, along with other unexplained phenomena? Let's pause for a moment to consider the specifics of the description. These were not mere flashes of light in the sky. The Tulli Papyrus speaks of fiery disks that moved in a way that defied conventional understanding. This was not a one-off sighting. According to the text, the event was observed over several days and caused considerable concern among the Egyptians. The priests, in particular, are said to have interpreted the event as an omen, a sign from the gods. The pharaoh, concerned by the appearance of these mysterious objects, is described as seeking counsel from his priests, who suggested that the strange phenomena portended both great danger and an inevitable shift in the balance of power. In modern terms, it is not difficult to draw parallels to contemporary UFO reports. Numerous sightings of strange lights in the sky, strange craft that seemingly defy the laws of physics, and even the alleged secrecy surrounding many government investigations. The Egyptian priests' interpretation of the event may have been shaped by their understanding of the divine. But for us today, it presents an opportunity to ask, could these fiery disks have been something entirely different? Something from outside our world? The theories about what the ancient Egyptians might have witnessed vary greatly. Some suggest the event described in the Tulli Papyrus was simply an astronomical event, like a comet or meteor shower misinterpreted by the Egyptians. But a comet's fiery tail, though striking, would not match the description of multiple hovering disks that seem to move independently through the sky. Other theories entertain the possibility that the papyrus is recording a genuine extraterrestrial encounter. After all, ancient cultures, including those in Egypt, were known for their intricate observations of the sky. The Egyptians were skilled astronomers and would likely have recognized more common phenomena such as meteors or comets. So, what could account for the strange description of disks that hovered, rather than streaking across the sky as meteors do? Then, there are the more fringe theories, those that consider the possibility of advanced technologies hidden in plain sight, or even the idea that extraterrestrial visitors may have made contact with ancient civilizations. Could the Tulli Papyrus be recording a time when the ancient Egyptians encountered beings from another world? Were these fiery disks ships from the stars, exploring Earth long before modern humanity could grasp the concept of space travel? Could it be that the Egyptian rulers and priests, knowing of the power these visitors held, attempted to interpret their arrival through the only lens available to them, the language of gods and omens? As fascinating as these theories may be, there is, of course, little solid evidence to prove any of them. The Tulli Papyrus itself remains a tantalizing fragment, and many of the details are lost to history. The papyrus may be a product of its time, shaped by the worldview of ancient Egypt, or it could be a cryptic account of something that defies our current understanding of history and the cosmos. In the context of modern-day research, it is not difficult to imagine how such an ancient document could find itself buried in government archives, perhaps locked away alongside other pieces of potentially paradigm-shifting information. Could the Tulli Papyrus be part of a much larger body of evidence? One that suggests the ancient world may have been far more connected to the skies and to possible extraterrestrial visitors than we ever thought? As we ponder this question, it becomes clear that the mystery of the Tulli Papyrus, much like other ancient UFO sightings, remains unresolved. The fiery disks that once lit up the Egyptian sky are a memory now, etched into the past and yet waiting for an answer. Did the ancient Egyptians witness an unexplained event? Or did they interpret something that modern eyes could never truly comprehend? The truth, like so many ancient mysteries, may be waiting to be uncovered, hidden in the files that lie locked away. And so, as we continue this journey through the unexplained, we are left to wonder, could there be more to the Tulli Papyrus than meets the eye? What if the skies above us have always been more than just a canvas for the stars? As we turn our gaze from the deserts of ancient Egypt to the vast, sun-drenched plains of Mali in West Africa, we encounter another remarkable mystery, one that intertwines celestial knowledge, ancient wisdom, and the deep connection between a people and the stars. Nestled within the Dogon people's rich cultural heritage lies a knowledge that defies explanation. Their ancient understanding of the Sirius star system, a celestial discovery that, to this day, remains one of the most baffling aspects of African astronomy. The Dogon, a group of people who have lived for centuries in the cliffs and caves of the Bandiagara escarpment in Mali, have long held an extraordinary understanding of the universe. Their knowledge, passed down through generations in the form of oral traditions, speaks of a star, Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, that is not only known to them but is central to their belief system. What makes their understanding so intriguing, however, is that their detailed knowledge of Sirius appears to predate any modern scientific discovery about the star system by centuries, if not millennia. At the heart of the Dogon's cosmic beliefs is Sirius B, the white dwarf companion to Sirius A. Western astronomers only confirmed the existence of this dim, invisible star in 1844, after centuries of speculation. But the Dogon, as early as 300 BC, seemed to know of its existence, its orbit, its mass, and even its role in the cosmic dance of the Sirius system. The star was thought to be invisible to the naked eye, its faint light obscured by the brightness of its companion, Sirius A. How could the Dogon have known of its presence long before modern telescopes could confirm it? The Dogon's knowledge of Sirius B was passed down through their oral traditions, which include intricate rituals and stories surrounding the stars. According to these traditions, the Dogon people were visited by beings known as the Namo, a group of amphibious fish-like creatures from Sirius B, who descended to Earth in ancient times. The Namo, the Dogon believe, imparted their knowledge of the heavens to the people, teaching them about the stars, the cosmos, and the creation of life itself. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting the Dogon's extraordinary knowledge lies in their detailed descriptions of Sirius B's orbit. The Dogon speak of a small star that orbits the larger, visible Sirius A in an elliptical pattern, a phenomenon that was only confirmed by modern astronomers after the invention of the telescope. In addition to this, they describe the star as being composed of a material much heavier than anything known on Earth, aligning with what we now know about white dwarf stars, which are incredibly dense. Further adding to the enigma is the fact that the Dogon had no advanced astronomical instruments, no telescopes, no modern tools, yet they were able to provide such a detailed description of a star system that had remained hidden from the human eye until recent history. Their knowledge was not only incredibly precise, but also carried spiritual significance. The Namo, the celestial beings from Sirius B, are said to have taught the Dogon not only about the stars, but also about the balance of life on Earth, the cycles of time, and the interconnectedness of all things. This brings us to a central question. How did the Dogon know about Sirius B long before it was discovered by Western science? There are, of course, many theories. The most widely accepted explanation among scholars is that the Dogon may have learned about Sirius B from outside sources, possibly from ancient contact with other civilizations. Some suggest that the knowledge was passed down through trade routes, or even by visiting explorers or sailors from distant lands. Others have speculated that the Dogon could have received this information from extraterrestrial beings, perhaps the very Namo they describe in their myths. While such speculative theories are intriguing, they remain just that, speculation. In fact, many mainstream scholars reject the notion of extraterrestrial contact, offering more plausible explanations rooted in human cultural exchange or coincidence. Some argue that the Dogon could have simply observed the movement of Sirius A, deduced the existence of an unseen companion, and created stories around it. But even this explanation doesn't account for the precision with which they describe the star's orbit and characteristics, much of which was not scientifically confirmed until the 20th century. There is also the possibility that the Dogon's knowledge comes from a deep, spiritual connection to the land and sky. The Dogon have always been remarkable observers of the natural world, with an intricate understanding of the movements of celestial bodies and their cycles. Their knowledge of Sirius could be rooted in centuries of careful observation and oral tradition, passed down with a precision that borders on the prophetic. Could their insights into the stars have been the result of a highly developed astronomical system that was lost to time? Despite the many theories, the mystery of the Dogon and their knowledge of Sirius remains unresolved. Some have suggested that modern-day scholars may have misunderstood or misinterpreted the Dogon's teachings, or that the translations of their oral history have been distorted over time. Others have pointed to the possibility of secret knowledge, ancient wisdom that has been passed down through the ages, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered. As we delve deeper into the enigma of the Dogon's celestial knowledge, we are confronted with a larger, more profound question. what does it mean to truly understand the stars? For the Dogon, the stars were not just distant points of light in the sky. They were living, breathing entities, full of meaning and mystery. And perhaps in their relationship with Sirius, we are reminded that the mysteries of the universe may not always be solved through science alone, but through the stories we tell, the connections we make, and the wisdom that is passed down through generations. Could it be that the Dogon's knowledge of the stars is a fragment of a much older, forgotten tradition, one that links humanity to the cosmos in ways we are only beginning to comprehend? Or is there something more, something beyond our current understanding that is waiting to be discovered in the vast, uncharted territories of space and time? The answers may yet lie hidden in the stars, waiting for us to look up and to listen. As we continue our exploration of ancient mysteries that may lie hidden within government files, we turn now to the land of India, a country with a rich history that stretches back millennia, a place where ancient wisdom and cosmic beliefs have shaped the cultural fabric for thousands of years. Among the many extraordinary elements found within India's ancient texts, one of the most fascinating and enigmatic is the description of Vimanas, flying machines that, according to the Vedas, were used by gods and heroes alike. The Vedas, the sacred texts of ancient India, are among the oldest religious scriptures known to humanity, dating back to around 1500 BC. These texts, which form the foundation of Hindu philosophy and spirituality, contain references to a variety of supernatural phenomena, gods, and divine weapons. Yet, it is the descriptions of Vimanas that have captured the imagination of both historians and modern-day UFO enthusiasts. The Vedas speak of these craft as powerful flying vehicles capable of soaring through the skies, traveling vast distances in moments, and even engaging in fierce aerial battles. The term Vimana itself can be roughly translated as chariot or vehicle, and in the Vedic texts, it is often associated with the gods, particularly the deity Indra, who is said to ride in a magnificent flying chariot called Vajra. But it is not just divine beings who are said to travel by Vimana. The Mahabharata, one of the great epics of India, describes the hero Arjuna using a Vimana, a vehicle that is capable of flying across the sky with incredible speed and precision. In the Ramayana, another epic, the king Ravana is said to have a personal flying machine known as the Pushpaka Vimana, which could transport him anywhere he wished at will. But what makes these descriptions so puzzling is the technological sophistication attributed to these Vimanas, machines that, by all accounts, could outstrip any known technology of the time. According to the Vedic accounts, these flying vehicles were not simple chariots pulled by horses or other animals, but advanced machines that used mysterious technologies to achieve flight. Some descriptions speak of Vimanas being able to travel through the air at incredible speeds, capable of hovering or changing direction in mid-flight, and possessing weapons of immense destructive power, attributes that would seem to place them far ahead of anything humanity was capable of at the time. In the Samarangana Sutradhara, a medieval Sanskrit text on architecture and mechanics, there are even more detailed descriptions of how Vimanas might function. It includes instructions on building flying machines, offering elaborate explanations about the types of metals, materials, and energy sources required to construct them. The text goes on to describe how these Vimanas could be powered, their ability to move through the air in all directions, and how they could create intense heat or even fire. This kind of advanced technology is hard to reconcile with the context of ancient India, raising the question, how could such knowledge have been known to the people of that time? Many scholars have attempted to interpret these Vedic descriptions in more conventional terms. Some suggest that the Vimanas were simply metaphorical or symbolic, representing divine or mythological powers, and not meant to be taken literally. The vivid imagery of flying chariots could be seen as poetic representations of the gods' power, rather than actual vehicles of transportation. Others propose that the descriptions of Vimanas may have been exaggerations of real, primitive flying machines, akin to early hot air balloons or gliders, which could have been misinterpreted or mythologized over time. Yet, as with many ancient mysteries, the presence of these fantastical descriptions in multiple texts across different cultures within ancient India continues to raise questions. Could there be more to the story? Could the Vimanas be evidence of an ancient knowledge of flight, possibly derived from contact with a more advanced civilization? Some have suggested that the Vedic descriptions of these flying machines could have been inspired by encounters with extraterrestrial visitors, beings who shared their advanced technology with the ancient civilizations of Earth. As we continue our journey through the ancient mysteries of civilization, we now turn to the dense jungles of southern Mexico, where the once mighty Maya civilization flourished. There, nestled among the towering pyramids and intricately carved stone monuments of Palenque, lies an artifact that has confounded scholars and intrigued conspiracy theorists for decades. It is a tomb lid, known as the Pacal Rocketman tomb lid, which rests above the final resting place of Kinich Janab Pacal, the ruler of Palenque, who reigned in the 7th century AD. The tomb lid, a masterpiece of Maya artistry, is etched with a complex and enigmatic carving that depicts a figure, Pacal himself, lying in what some have interpreted as a rocket ship, hurtling through the sky surrounded by a swirling vortex of smoke. The image has captured the imagination of modern-day researchers, UFO enthusiasts, and historians alike, not only for its striking detail, but for its seemingly unearthly depiction. To some, the image appears to show Pacal inside a vessel, with flames shooting from beneath him, reminiscent of modern depictions of rocket propulsion. The lid's vivid imagery invites questions. Is this a depiction of an ancient Maya ruler's journey to the afterlife, or is it something more? A record of an otherworldly encounter, or perhaps even an ancient spaceship? The tomb itself is located in the Temple of the Inscriptions, one of the most important architectural sites at Palenque. Pacal's tomb was discovered in 1952 by the Mexican archaeologist Alberto Ruz Luillier. What he uncovered was a meticulously constructed chamber, lined with intricate carvings and inscriptions that detailed Pacal's life and divine status. The tomb lid, which covers the sarcophagus, is the focal point of this discovery. Its carvings are particularly notable for their complexity and the unusual depiction of Pacal. On the stone slab, Pacal is shown reclining, his hands resting on the arms of a seat. He appears to be looking upward, his mouth slightly open, surrounded by swirling patterns that suggest motion. Below him, flames or smoke seem to be emanating from the base of the carving. For many, the imagery seems strikingly reminiscent of a modern astronaut or space traveler, raising the possibility that the Maya had knowledge of space travel far beyond what we currently understand. However, mainstream archaeologists and historians have a different interpretation. The flames and swirling patterns, they argue, represent the forces of life, death, and rebirth, consistent with Maya cosmology. According to this view, Pacal's journey depicted on the tomb lid is not one to outer space, but rather an allegorical passage into the underworld, an essential component of Maya beliefs about the afterlife. Pacal, in this reading, is not soaring through the cosmos, but is instead on a symbolic journey to the realm of the gods. The idea of space travel or an intergalactic voyage might seem far-fetched at first. And yet, the striking similarity between the tomb lid's imagery and modern depictions of spacecraft is undeniable. UFO enthusiasts have long pointed to this carving as evidence that the Maya had knowledge of advanced technologies or had perhaps even encountered extraterrestrial visitors. The swirling smoke, they argue, mirrors the exhaust from a rocket or spaceship. Pacal's position inside the vehicle, with his body encased in a vessel, could represent the act of being launched into the heavens, much like an astronaut in a modern-day spacecraft. This interpretation gained further attention in the 1970s when the idea of ancient astronauts became popularized by writers like Erich von Däniken, who suggested that advanced extraterrestrial beings visited ancient civilizations and imparted knowledge of technology and science. According to von Däniken, the Maya's depiction of Pacal could be seen as evidence of such an encounter that was later interpreted through the symbolic and religious lenses of the time. But even within the more grounded archaeological community, the Pacal tomb lid continues to raise questions. The precision with which the carving represents movement, propulsion, and technology is something that should not be overlooked. Could it be that the Maya, in their advanced understanding of the cosmos and the natural world, were using symbols to represent something far beyond the capabilities of their time? Did they have an understanding of the universe that we have yet to uncover? Another intriguing detail of the tomb lid lies in the inscriptions surrounding the figure of Pacal. These texts, which were deciphered by Maya epigrapher Tatiana Proskoryakov, detail Pacal's life and his connection to the gods. They describe the ruler's birth, his ascension to power, and his role in the divine order of the Maya world. While the symbols and carvings around the tomb lid provide important context for understanding Pacal's reign and his spiritual journey, they also hint at a complex worldview in which the Maya saw themselves as interconnected with the cosmos in ways that modern civilizations often overlook. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the Rocket Man tomb lid, however, is the mystery that surrounds it. Why did the Maya, known for their sophisticated astronomical knowledge, create such a detailed and seemingly futuristic image? Was it an artistic interpretation of the ruler's journey to the afterlife, or is there a deeper, more hidden meaning embedded in the imagery? Could the swirling flames and the cosmic positioning of the figure represent a more literal journey, one that transcends the realm of mythology and touches on something far more tangible? As with many ancient mysteries, the Pacal tomb lid leaves us with far more questions than answers. Could this image, which appears to depict a spacecraft, be a simple metaphor for the ruler's passage into the afterlife? Or is it a record of an event or knowledge that is far beyond the capabilities of the ancient Maya? Was it possible that the Maya had contact with extraterrestrial beings, or did they possess knowledge of the cosmos that we are only beginning to understand? The mystery of the Pacal Rocket Man tomb lid is one that continues to intrigue, baffling both archaeologists and enthusiasts alike. As we ponder the meaning of this remarkable artifact, we are left to wonder, what else might remain hidden within the tombs and ruins of ancient civilizations, waiting for us to uncover? And as we search for answers, could we be standing on the cusp of discovering something that changes our entire understanding of history? Something that might be locked away in government files awaiting the moment when its true significance is finally revealed. As we leave behind the towering pyramids and the ancient tombs of the Maya, we now journey to the lush, verdant jungles of Colombia, where a curious set of artifacts has continued to mystify archaeologists and UFO researchers alike. Nestled within the rich history of the Quimbaya civilization, the golden aircraft artifacts stand as a testament to the mysterious and highly advanced craftsmanship of an ancient people. These small but intricately detailed golden objects have puzzled experts for years, sparking speculation that they might depict something far more extraordinary than mere artistic creations. Discovered in the early 20th century, the Quimbaya flying machines are small figurines made of gold, some of which bear an uncanny resemblance to modern depictions of aircraft. These miniature objects, some no larger than a hand, show various animals and geometric shapes, but among them, a few stand out due to their resemblance to airplanes or helicopters. The designs feature elongated bodies with wings, tail sections, and other features that appear strikingly similar to modern flight technology. these artifacts were found in the tombs of the Quimbaya people, along with other gold objects, suggesting they held significant cultural or ceremonial value. What has captured the imagination of modern-day researchers is the apparent likeness of some of these objects to advanced flying machines. A closer examination of the golden figurines reveals shapes that resemble the fuselage of an aircraft, complete with tail fins, wings, and even what could be interpreted as engines. There are specific pieces, particularly one known as the Quimbaya Gold Flyer, that resemble a modern aircraft in a way that cannot easily be explained by coincidence or traditional artistic symbolism. The mainstream explanation, however, is far more grounded. Archaeologists and historians suggest that these objects were not intended to depict actual flying machines, but were more likely stylized representations of birds or insects, creatures that the Quimbaya would have seen as having divine or mystical significance. The Quimbaya people, like many ancient civilizations, were deeply connected to the natural world and often incorporated representations of animals and birds into their art. According to this interpretation, the resemblance to aircraft is purely coincidental, the result of the artist's skill in creating intricate and symbolic representations of nature. However, this explanation fails to explain the uncanny detail of the objects and the striking resemblance to modern aircraft technology. For example, the presence of tail sections, the placement of wings, and the symmetry of the designs suggest a level of precision that goes beyond mere stylization. Could it be that the Quimbaya people had knowledge of flight, either through direct observation of nature or perhaps even through means we do not yet understand? Some fringe theorists, inspired by the work of authors like Erich von Däniken, who popularized the concept of ancient astronauts, have proposed that these golden artifacts are not representations of birds or insects, but actual depictions of flying machines, vessels capable of aerial travel. According to these theories, the Quimbaya may have had contact with extraterrestrial visitors who shared advanced knowledge of flight, possibly leaving behind these artifacts as representations of their technology. The detailed design of the golden aircraft objects would then be seen not as symbolic, but as a literal interpretation of a technology that existed long before the advent of modern aviation. Another theory suggests that these objects could be representations of ceremonial flying chariots, mythological or divine vehicles used by gods or celestial beings. Much like the Vimanas in ancient India, which are depicted as divine vehicles capable of flight, the Quimbaya artifacts might be visual records of stories and legends passed down through generations. In this case, the objects may serve as symbols of divine power and the connection between the earth and the heavens, rather than literal depictions of physical machines. Yet another theory posits that these artifacts were part of the Quimbaya's ritualistic practices and were perhaps intended to invoke the power of the heavens or the gods. The Quimbaya were skilled goldsmiths, and their expertise in crafting small, detailed objects suggests that these flying machine-shaped artifacts could have had a symbolic or spiritual purpose, perhaps to ensure protection or favor from the deities. Still, the idea of ancient knowledge of flight remains tantalizing. If we look at the artifacts from a broader historical context, we see that the Quimbaya were part of the larger Andean civilization, known for their advanced agricultural and architectural skills. But unlike the Inca, the Quimbaya are not known to have left behind large written records, making their gold artifacts even more intriguing. If these flying machines were indeed representations of actual flying technology, it raises a compelling question. How did the Quimbaya acquire this knowledge? Was it based on ancient observation of nature? Or, as some theorists suggest, did the knowledge of flight come from external sources, perhaps even from extraterrestrial visitors? As we consider the Quimbaya artifacts, we are faced with the unsettling reality that many of the ancient mysteries of the world might have answers hidden in plain sight. Could these golden objects be something more than ceremonial art? Could they depict technology that was advanced beyond the Quimbaya's time, or even beyond our own? Theories continue to swirl, and the mystery remains unsolved. What is particularly intriguing is how these golden objects fit into a larger pattern of ancient depictions of flight. From the Vimanas in India to the Nazca lines in Peru, another enigmatic feature of the Andean civilization. The idea of flight and the heavens seems to permeate the ancient world in ways we are only beginning to understand. Could it be that the knowledge of flight was more widespread than we realize, passed down in ways that were disguised in myth and legend? As we investigate these mysteries, one thing becomes clear. There is much more to these golden artifacts than meets the eye. Whether they are symbolic representations of flight, actual depictions of advanced technology, or something else entirely, they beckon us to look deeper, to question what we think we know about the past, and to wonder if the Quimbaya, like so many ancient civilizations, were far more connected to the stars and the skies than we ever imagined. What secrets might still lie hidden, waiting to be uncovered? And could there be other artifacts or knowledge locked away in government archives, waiting for the moment when their true significance is finally revealed to the world? As we leave behind the dense jungles of Colombia and the forgotten tombs of the Maya, we now turn our attention to a vast, arid expanse in Algeria, a land where the heat of the sun has baked the earth for millennia. The Tassili mountain range, rising out of the Sahara Desert, is a place that seems to hold more secrets than its barren landscape suggests. Here, amidst the rocky outcrops and sprawling plateaus, one of the most intriguing archaeological discoveries of the 20th century was made. Carved into the stone surfaces of these ancient mountains are thousands of petroglyphs, depictions of animals, humans, and, strangely, beings from the sky. Among these enigmatic images, one series of depictions stands out in particular: the round-head figures. These are strange, humanoid shapes, often wearing helmets or headgear, with large, rounded heads that seem unnaturally proportioned to their bodies. Their features are distinctly alien, evoking a sense of otherworldliness, beings whose appearance does not fit with the traditional human forms found in the surrounding petroglyphs. The Tassili rock art is believed to date back as far as 8000 BC, with some interpretations suggesting that these depictions could be even older. The paintings, discovered in the 1930s by a French airman, reveal a sophisticated understanding of the human form, wildlife, and celestial events. But it is the mysterious figures with round heads that have prompted the most speculation. What are they trying to convey? Who or what are they? The figures are often shown standing or engaged in various activities. Some are depicted holding what appear to be helmets or devices that resemble modern spacesuits or spaceships. Their bodies, in contrast to the surrounding human figures, seem to lack detailed features, further emphasizing their unnatural qualities. It is this stark contrast between these round-headed beings and the more conventional depictions of humans that raises the most unsettling question: were these figures simply symbolic representations of gods or spirits, or is there something more? Mainstream interpretations of these petroglyphs suggest that the round-headed figures are likely representations of shamanic beings or deities tied to the spiritual and religious beliefs of the ancient peoples of the region. In this view, the round heads could symbolize the power or transcendence of the figures, signifying their divine or supernatural status. The helmets or headgear could represent the connection between these beings and the celestial realm, an indicator of their otherworldly nature. In this context, the Tassili petroglyphs might be seen as part of a larger religious or mythological tradition, reflecting the people's desire to understand the forces of nature and the cosmos. The round heads could be a symbolic way to represent the ethereal nature of the beings, figures who, though humanoid in shape, existed in a realm that was beyond the physical world. However, as with many ancient artifacts, there is another layer to the mystery that cannot be easily explained by conventional views. Could these figures actually be representations of extraterrestrial beings? This theory first gained traction in the 1970s, when French anthropologist Henri Lotte published his findings on the Tassili cave paintings. Lotte and other researchers suggested that the peculiar appearance of the round-head beings might be an ancient depiction of beings who arrived from the sky, beings who may have shared advanced knowledge with the people of the region. The imagery, with its clear focus on the headgear and other worldly qualities, seems to suggest something far beyond the natural world. Moreover, the depiction of sky beings, beings that seem to come from above, aligns with similar stories found in other ancient cultures. From the Vimanas in India to the Nazca lines in Peru, many ancient civilizations speak of divine or celestial beings descending from the heavens. Is it possible that the round-headed figures of Tassili N'Ajjer are part of this global tradition of sky beings? Did the ancient peoples of Algeria, like the Maya and the Quimbaya, possess knowledge or legends of celestial encounters that were far more advanced than we have assumed? Some even argue that the helmets or headgear depicted in the petroglyphs resemble modern spacesuit helmets, suggesting that these images may be an early record of extraterrestrial visitation. The way the beings appear to float or hover above the ground, sometimes shown surrounded by strange, futuristic-looking devices, gives the impression that these figures are not simply mythological beings, but visitors from another world, beings capable of traveling across the vast distances of space. This theory is further supported by the highly advanced astronomical knowledge that the ancient peoples of the region may have had. The Sahara Desert, which once had a much more temperate climate, was a place where ancient societies were keen observers of the sky. The stars, the planets, and the cycles of the heavens were central to their worldview. Could it be that their depictions of these sky beings are not just mythological or symbolic, but a record of real encounters, an attempt to explain the presence of extraterrestrial visitors? As with other ancient mysteries, the question of whether the Tassili petroglyphs are evidence of extraterrestrial contact is far from settled. Mainstream archaeologists still maintain that these figures represent religious or cultural motifs rather than actual depictions of alien beings. However, the sheer strangeness of the round-headed figures, combined with their apparent connection to celestial themes, invites us to ask, could the ancient peoples of Algeria have been trying to communicate something far beyond their time? The mystery of the Tassili N'Ajjer roundhead figures remains unresolved. Whether they are gods, spirits, or extraterrestrial beings, they continue to captivate those who seek to understand the deeper, hidden histories of our world. Could they be proof of ancient knowledge, an ancient encounter with beings from the stars, or merely a symbolic representation of the human search for meaning in the cosmos? As we look back at the petroglyphs in the rugged cliffs of the Tassili Mountains, we are reminded that the past, much like the stars above, is vast and filled with unexplained wonders. What secrets still lie hidden in these ancient depictions? And could the key to unlocking these mysteries be sitting quietly in some long-forgotten government file, waiting for us to uncover the truth? As we journey from the sun-baked deserts of northern Africa to the remote, ancient landscapes of Australia, we encounter a unique and fascinating mystery embedded within the rich spiritual traditions of the continent's indigenous people. Deep within the Kimberley region of Western Australia, on the walls of isolated caves and rock shelters, we find paintings of beings known as the Wandjina, figures that have intrigued and mystified both anthropologists and UFO researchers alike. These striking depictions, some of the oldest artworks on the planet, offer a glimpse into the spiritual and cosmic beliefs of the Aboriginal peoples, yet they also pose a set of questions that continue to echo through time. The Wandjina paintings are not merely images of gods or ancestral spirits, as many assume. Instead, they depict large humanoid figures with exaggerated features, most notably round, halo-like heads that appear to float above their bodies. Their eyes are often wide and blank, their faces strangely smooth, and their heads surrounded by what appear to be intricate patterns or energy fields, creating a visual effect that has been likened to modern depictions of alien or extraterrestrial beings. These figures are often shown with markings on their bodies, holding no weapons, but exuding an ethereal, commanding presence. These mysterious beings are deeply embedded in the Dreamtime stories of the Aboriginal people, the spiritual and mythological framework that governs their understanding of the world, the cosmos, and the origins of life itself. The Wandjina are said to have created the land, the rivers, and the people, and their presence is seen as a powerful force that continues to influence the world. However, it is their otherworldly appearance that has caught the attention of modern observers. With their non-human-like features, the Wandjina have been interpreted by some as representations of beings from the sky, beings who came to Earth in the distant past, imparting knowledge of creation and cosmology to the Aboriginal people. The Wandjina figures are typically painted on the high, inaccessible cliffs of the Kimberley, in caves that can only be reached by boat or on foot, often in remote, wild places that have remained unchanged for thousands of years. These locations are significant. They are sacred sites, connected to the deep spiritual traditions of the Aboriginal peoples. To this day, the Wandjina remain a vital part of the living culture, not just as ancient art, but as figures that continue to hold spiritual significance for the local tribes. In the context of Aboriginal spirituality, the Wandjina are often seen as powerful ancestral beings, part of a lineage of creators who are intimately tied to the land. They are believed to be spiritual guardians, controlling the forces of nature, the rains, and the life cycles of the land. The Aboriginal people of the Kimberley refer to them as the cloud spirits, associating them with the storms and the rains that bring life to the desert. The paintings themselves are not just representations of these beings, but acts of ritualistic power, invoking the presence of the Wandjina to ensure fertility, good harvests, and harmony in the natural world. However, the appearance of these figures is where the mystery deepens. The large round heads, the smooth faces, and the lack of visible mouth or nose all seem to bear a striking resemblance to modern descriptions of extraterrestrial life. The way the figures are painted, often surrounded by lines or patterns that could suggest energy, movement, or a sense of otherworldliness, further blurs the line between spiritual and material realms. To many, these figures do not simply represent gods or ancestors. They appear to represent beings who arrived from the skies as visitors from other worlds, imparting knowledge and perhaps even guiding the people in ways that we may never fully understand. The question arises, could the Wandjina represent extraterrestrial beings, beings who visited Earth in the distant past, and who were perceived by the Aboriginal people as divine or supernatural? This theory, which has gained traction among certain fringe researchers and enthusiasts, draws parallels to other ancient accounts of sky beings found in cultures around the world. Just as the Vimanas in India and the Nazca lines in Peru have been interpreted as evidence of extraterrestrial contact, the Wandjina figures, with their unmistakable connection to the sky, seem to fit a similar pattern. Some proponents of the ancient astronaut theory suggest that the Wandjina were not just part of a mythological belief system, but might have been the result of direct contact with beings from outer space. According to this view, the round-headed figures could be a representation of visitors who arrived in ships or craft from the stars, visitors who, with their advanced knowledge, were seen as gods by the Aboriginal people. Could these ancient artworks be depicting actual encounters with extraterrestrial beings, encoded in a spiritual framework that was beyond the comprehension of the time? There are also intriguing elements in the oral traditions of the Aboriginal people that suggest an awareness of celestial events. The Wandjina are said to have come from the sky in great ships, which some interpret as an allusion to UFOs. The fact that these sky beings are depicted in close connection with the forces of nature, particularly the rains, raises further questions. Could the Wandjina be symbolic of an advanced technology that had the ability to manipulate weather patterns, perhaps even control or influence the Earth's environment? Skeptics, however, caution against jumping to conclusions. They argue that the Wandjina figures, like other mythological beings, are deeply symbolic, representing the deep connection between the Aboriginal people and the natural world. The round heads and smooth faces, they contend, are not representations of extraterrestrials, but of spiritual entities that transcend the physical world. In this view, the Wandjina figures represent an ancient understanding of the cosmic forces that govern the Earth, forces that were seen as both divine and all-encompassing. Nevertheless, the question remains: why, among so many human figures, are these beings depicted with such strange, otherworldly features? And why are these depictions so consistently tied to the sky and the heavens? While we may never know the true origins of the Wandjina, the possibility that they represent something beyond our earthly experience, something that reaches into the unknown, continues to provoke wonder and curiosity. As we stand before these ancient paintings, we are reminded that, in the world's oldest cultures, the line between the spiritual and the material has often been fluid, where gods and ancestors are as real as the stars above. The Wandjina figures, with their blank eyes and round heads, serve as a reminder that the past is full of mysteries that still, in many ways, remain beyond our understanding. What might these enigmatic figures represent? Are they a record of contact with celestial beings, or simply a deep spiritual connection to the natural world? And what if the answers lie buried in the ancient stories, or in the government files still sealed away from the public eye? As with many of the great mysteries of the ancient world, the truth remains elusive, hidden in the past, and perhaps waiting for us to uncover it. As we journey through the mysteries of ancient civilizations, we now turn to a stunning discovery hidden in the quiet, verdant valleys of northern Italy. Here, in the remote mountains of Camonica, lies a rich archaeological site that has puzzled experts and sparked speculation for decades. It is a place where the stone walls whisper of ancient peoples, their lives, beliefs, and perhaps even their encounters with the unknown. The Camonica Valley is home to one of the largest collections of prehistoric rock art in Europe, with over 140,000 petroglyphs carved into the stone surfaces of cliffs and valleys. Among these intricate designs, a select group of carvings stand out, figures that have been dubbed the Astronaut petroglyphs. These peculiar carvings, which date back as far as 5000 BC, depict humanoid figures wearing helmets or headgear that resemble modern spacesuits. With their wide, round heads and exaggerated features, these figures are not the typical depictions of everyday life or animals, which dominate much of the surrounding artwork. Instead, they seem to suggest something far more extraordinary. Some of these petroglyphs show humanoid beings with helmets and what appear to be elaborate body-encompassing suits, standing in a posture that could be interpreted as space travelers. Other carvings depict figures with large eyes and outstretched limbs, further enhancing their otherworldly appearance. Some even show individuals encased in what seem to be protective gear, holding objects that resemble modern-day tools or instruments. The astronaut petroglyphs were first noticed by scholars in the mid-20th century, though their true significance did not become widely recognized until the 1960s and 1970s, when UFO and ancient astronaut theories began to gain popularity. Enthusiasts of the ancient astronaut hypothesis, made famous by authors like Erich von Däniken,
quickly pointed to these figures as evidence of extraterrestrial contact with early humans. According to this view, these astronauts were not simply abstract representations, but perhaps real beings who visited Earth in the distant past, beings who shared knowledge and technology with the people of the time. The resemblance of the carvings to modern depictions of astronauts in spacesuits seemed impossible to ignore. The petroglyphs themselves are part of a broader tradition of rock art that spans thousands of years, depicting the everyday lives of the Kamuni, the people who once inhabited the region. These ancient inhabitants of the Alps carved images of animals, humans, and symbolic motifs into the rock faces, offering glimpses into their spiritual beliefs and relationship with the natural world. Most of the petroglyphs found in Camonica are relatively straightforward. Depictions of bulls, deer, and other wildlife, alongside abstract symbols and geometric patterns. However, the astronaut-like figures stand in stark contrast to the more familiar motifs, prompting questions about their true nature. In mainstream archaeology, the astronaut petroglyphs are often interpreted as symbolic or ritualistic representations. Some scholars suggest that the figures with helmets or headgear could represent shamans or divine beings, humans who were believed to possess supernatural powers and were often depicted as wearing ceremonial headgear to indicate their elevated status. The helmeted figures, according to this interpretation, could be spiritual or mythological figures, connected to the cosmic realm or gods who controlled the forces of nature, life, and death. The presence of large eyes, too, could be symbolic, meant to convey heightened perception or the ability to see beyond the physical world. Yet, this interpretation does not entirely satisfy those who see the petroglyphs as evidence of something more extraordinary. The idea that ancient peoples might have created such specific and detailed representations of spacesuits and astronaut-like figures raises intriguing questions. How could they have known about something so futuristic, so otherworldly, so far beyond their time? Could these carvings be a record of ancient encounters with extraterrestrial visitors, beings who arrived from the sky and whose technology was so advanced that it was perceived as divine by the people of the time? One of the most compelling aspects of the Camonica astronaut petroglyphs is the way they align with other ancient depictions of beings who are said to have descended from the sky. From the Vimanas in India to the Wandjina in Australia, numerous cultures across the world have left behind artwork that seems to suggest contact with celestial or extraterrestrial beings. The depiction of astronauts or beings in spacesuits in Camonica fits into this broader pattern of ancient sky gods or visitors, beings who came from the heavens and who imparted wisdom, technology, or otherworldly gifts to humanity. Is it possible that the Kamuni were trying to record such an event in the form of these strangely futuristic-looking carvings? Some researchers argue that the figures may not represent actual space travelers, but instead are the result of a deeply ingrained spiritual belief system that saw the heavens as the realm of divine beings, and that those who inhabited the sky were depicted as otherworldly entities. The round-headed figures, the large eyes, and the suits may be artistic representations of the cosmic forces or deities that governed the universe, rather than literal depictions of extraterrestrial life. In this view, the figures would serve a symbolic purpose, illustrating the people's belief in the powerful, divine forces that came from the stars. However, it is the specificity and detail of the carvings that continue to intrigue and provoke questions. How could such detailed depictions of spacesuits and helmets appear in a time when humans had no knowledge of space travel, technology, or even the stars in the way we understand them today? Could it be that the ancient Kamuni had knowledge of advanced technologies passed down through some unknown means? Or, as some theorists suggest, could the carvings be evidence of an ancient contact event,
where extraterrestrial beings arrived and were recorded as gods, not just in spiritual terms, but in a technological context. The Camonica Valley and its mysterious petroglyphs remain a key puzzle in the study of ancient rock art. While many mainstream interpretations point to the figures as symbolic or religious representations, the uncanny resemblance to modern depictions of space travel continues to spark curiosity. As with many ancient mysteries, the line between myth and reality becomes blurred, leaving us with more questions than answers. What might these figures truly represent? Are they the result of a vivid imagination, or do they offer evidence of something far beyond the comprehension of ancient civilizations? The astronaut petroglyphs of Camonica raise one final tantalizing question. Could there be other such records hidden in the ancient artwork of civilizations around the world, waiting to be uncovered? What might still be hidden in the dark corners of history, awaiting the moment when their true significance is finally revealed? As we continue to explore these mysteries, one thing is clear. The past holds more secrets than we can imagine, and perhaps, in some long-forgotten file or hidden archive, the truth of our connection to the cosmos may be waiting to be uncovered. As we leave the intricate rock art of the Camonica Valley and the Australian skies, we now travel to one of the oldest and most significant civilizations in human history, Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. In the ancient heart of modern-day Iraq, among the ruins of the city-states of Sumer, lies a mystery that has intrigued scholars, archaeologists, and ufologists for centuries. Carved into the stone and clay of this ancient land are the images of a strange and powerful winged disk. This enigmatic symbol, known as the Sumerian winged disk, appears on tablets, cylinder seals, and the walls of temples throughout the region. The winged disk is typically depicted as a circular or oval shape, often with large wings extending from either side, sometimes surrounded by rays of light or other forms of symbolic energy. At first glance, it seems like a simple representation of the divine, something transcendent and celestial. However, as we examine it more closely, we begin to notice something that sets it apart from other symbols in the ancient world. The winged disk does not merely appear as a symbol of the sun or a god. It seems to be something more, a representation of a celestial object, something that is not bound by the traditional religious or mythological imagery of the time. The winged disk is most commonly associated with the ancient Sumerian god Shamash, the god of the sun, justice, and divination. Shamash is often depicted with a winged disk above his head or as part of his iconography. In this interpretation, the disk represents the sun itself, often considered the most powerful of celestial bodies. But there is a growing body of thought that suggests the winged disk could represent something far more extraordinary than the sun. Could it symbolize a flying object, one that was seen in the sky by the Sumerians? Perhaps something more advanced than their own technological capabilities? Could this disk be a depiction of a spacecraft or a sky chariot, as some have proposed? The imagery of the winged disk appears across several Mesopotamian cultures, most notably the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians, suggesting that the symbol held widespread significance. In some depictions, the disk is shown surrounded by what look like rays of light, a feature that, to modern eyes, might evoke the idea of a spacecraft emitting powerful energy. The fact that this symbol is repeated throughout these ancient cultures, often appearing in the context of gods, divine rulership, or celestial power, indicates that it held great importance in their worldview. But the question arises, what was the true nature of this symbol, and why did it carry such weight? One of the most intriguing aspects of the winged disk is its recurring presence in Sumerian mythology, specifically in connection with the gods who were believed to come from the heavens. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the ancient hero encounters various gods, many of whom are depicted as having descended from the sky, descending in chariots of fire or from celestial realms. The Sumerian texts often describe gods who traveled between the earth and the heavens, their journeys marked by fire and light, a motif that resonates with the idea of advanced spacecraft capable of moving between celestial bodies. Could the winged disk be a symbolic representation of one of these sky chariots? Did the Sumerians encounter flying objects from the heavens, and did they depict these encounters in their art and mythology? This idea is not without precedent in ancient astronaut theories, which suggest that advanced extraterrestrial visitors might have been interpreted as gods by early human civilizations. The winged disk, then, could be an ancient representation of such a visitor, a flying object that might have been perceived as divine, its advanced technology seen as supernatural power. It is important to note that the winged disk is not unique to the Sumerians. Similar symbols appear in other ancient cultures, suggesting a widespread association between the winged disk and divine beings who came from the sky. The Egyptians had their own versions of sky gods, such as Ra, whose solar disk is often depicted with wings, and the Indus Valley civilization also left behind representations of flying chariots, which might have been inspired by similar celestial encounters. Some proponents of the ancient astronaut theory suggest that the Sumerians were depicting extraterrestrial visitors in the form of the winged disk, beings who arrived on Earth in flying ships and were revered as gods by the Sumerian people. According to this view, the disk would not merely represent the sun, but the craft of these sky beings, their wings symbolizing speed and movement through the air or space. The rays of light surrounding the disk might indicate the energy or propulsion system of the craft, which could have been perceived as divine fire by the ancient people. This idea is further supported by descriptions of the gods in Sumerian mythology. For example, Enlil, one of the chief gods of the Sumerian pantheon, is often described as descending from the sky, and Anu, the sky god, is depicted as ruling over the heavens from his celestial home. These gods are frequently said to travel in chariots or boats of the sky, and the imagery of the winged disk could very well represent these crafts, which were considered vessels for the gods to travel between the heavens and earth. While these speculative ideas are compelling, mainstream scholars are more cautious. They tend to interpret the winged disk as a symbolic representation of the sun or the divine power associated with the sun. In this view, the disk's wings are not meant to indicate flight or movement, but rather represent the sun's rays, which were a central symbol of divine power and life in many ancient cultures. Shamash, as the sun god, would have been depicted with the winged disk to show his dominion over both the heavens and the earth, a symbol of his ability to provide light, warmth, and justice. Yet the strange coincidence of ancient symbols across the world, the sun, the disk, the wings, the sky chariots, suggests a deeper, perhaps hidden connection. Could these ancient cultures have been trying to record something more than just their religious or mythological beliefs? Might they have been attempting to document real encounters with celestial visitors or advanced technology? Experiences they could not fully comprehend, and thus turned to the only framework they knew, the divine? As we consider the Sumerian winged disk, we are faced with a mystery that stretches across time. What was the true meaning of this symbol, and why was it so prominent in the ancient world? Was it a representation of the sun and its power, or could it be an ancient record of extraterrestrial contact, a depiction of an advanced craft that visited Earth millennia ago? Perhaps the answers lie buried in ancient tablets or in the files still hidden away by governments, waiting for the moment when their true significance is finally revealed. The winged disk is a reminder that the ancient world was full of symbols and signs, some of which may have been more than simple allegories or religious iconography. As we continue to explore the mysteries of these ancient civilizations, one question remains. What if the ancient sky gods were not gods at all, but visitors from another world? And what if the records of their visits are hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to uncover them? As we leave behind the celestial imagery of the Sumerian winged disk, our journey now takes us to the land of ancient Egypt, a civilization that, for millennia, has captivated the world with its monumental architecture, its gods, and its enigmatic symbols. Here, in the shadow of the towering pyramids and the timeless stones of Luxor, lies a mystery that has baffled researchers for decades: the Dendera light reliefs. The Dendera temple complex, located in the town of Dendera, Egypt, is an ancient religious site dedicated to the goddess Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, music, and fertility. Within its walls, a stunning series of reliefs can be found, some of which depict a strange and seemingly impossible image, an image that has led to a host of speculations about the ancient Egyptians' knowledge of light and energy. Carved into the ceiling of the Hathor temple are detailed reliefs that seem to show a mysterious light source, unlike anything that should have been known to the people of the time. In these carvings, large, bulbous, and tubular shapes are shown, surrounded by intricate spiraling patterns that resemble what might be an electric light bulb or a lamp. These devices are depicted as being held by gods, with energy or light emanating from them, often directed toward other figures or symbols. The images are so striking and unusual that many researchers have questioned, could these reliefs represent a form of lighting technology unknown to the ancient Egyptians? Could they be evidence of a lost or hidden knowledge, perhaps passed down from an advanced civilization or extraterrestrial visitors? The reliefs in question are located in the Hathor Temple, a structure that dates back to the Ptolemaic period, around 50 BC, although the temple itself was built upon earlier foundations that stretch back to the Old Kingdom, around 2500 BC. While the iconography of the temple primarily centers on the goddess Hathor, with scenes depicting her interactions with various deities and her role in the afterlife, it is these peculiar reliefs that have captured the attention of both archaeologists and alternative researchers. The most famous of these carvings is the light bulb relief, which shows what appears to be a figure holding a large cylindrical object, with rays or lines emanating from it. Below the object, there seems to be a snake-like coil, which some have suggested could represent electrical wiring. The light bulb-like shape, along with the coil, has led to a highly controversial theory that the ancient Egyptians might have had access to some form of advanced electrical technology. But could such a theory be grounded in reality, or is it a modern misinterpretation of ancient art? Mainstream scholars argue that these reliefs are more symbolic than literal. They suggest that the light being depicted is actually a representation of divine power, a metaphor for the goddess Hathor's ability to bring light, both literally and spiritually. In this view, the spiral surrounding the bulb-like shape might symbolize the essence of creation, and the rays of light could represent the power of the gods. This interpretation fits within the broader religious context of ancient Egypt, where gods were often depicted with symbolic attributes meant to convey their power and connection to the cosmos. However, this mainstream interpretation does not fully address the unusual resemblance between the depicted shapes and modern lighting devices. The resemblance is uncanny, with the shapes appearing similar to a modern light bulb, a technology that would be thousands of years ahead of the civilization that created the carvings. Could this simply be a coincidental similarity, or is there a deeper truth to these images, something that goes beyond the symbolic and into the realm of the technological? As we consider this possibility, we must remember that ancient Egypt was a civilization of remarkable achievement and mystery. The Egyptians were known for their advanced knowledge of architecture, engineering, astronomy, and mathematics, and they often depicted highly complex symbols and ideas in their artwork. Could they have also understood the principles of light and energy in a way that was far beyond what we traditionally think of as their technological capabilities? Some proponents of the ancient astronaut theory have suggested that the Dendera light reliefs might represent an actual advanced technology brought to Earth by extraterrestrial visitors. The idea is that these visitors shared their knowledge of energy sources, including electricity, with the Egyptians. According to this view, the carvings are not just symbolic, but are actual depictions of alien technology, perhaps a form of lighting, similar to modern electrical bulbs used by the gods or beings who descended from the heavens. This theory has been further fueled by the suggestion that the reliefs in Dendera might be showing something even more extraordinary: an image of an electrical lamp or arc lamp, a device that uses a high-voltage electrical discharge to produce light. Some researchers have noted that the coil in the reliefs could be interpreted as a tube or wire connecting the bulb-like object to a power source, implying that the ancient Egyptians may have had some form of electricity, perhaps harnessed in a way that was lost to history. There are also other curious elements to consider. The location of the temple itself, built upon the foundations of earlier structures, suggests a continuity of knowledge, a lineage of wisdom passed down through the ages. Could the Egyptians have inherited this knowledge from an earlier, now lost civilization that possessed advanced technologies? Or was it possible that the gods themselves, as depicted in the reliefs, were not divine but extraterrestrial beings, who shared their technological knowledge with the Egyptians, only for it to be forgotten or hidden over time? Of course, these theories remain highly speculative, and many scholars point out that interpreting the reliefs as depictions of modern technology is anachronistic. They argue that ancient Egyptians did not possess the tools or knowledge to create electrical devices, and the symbolism of the Dendera reliefs should be understood within the religious and spiritual framework of the time. The light could very well be a metaphor for the divine power of Hathor, not an actual representation of electrical technology. And yet, the question lingers. Why, out of all the symbolic images in the vast array of Egyptian artwork, are the Dendera reliefs so strikingly similar to modern electrical devices? Why are these seemingly ancient depictions so evocative of something much more advanced, something that would not be seen in the world for thousands of years? Could it be that the Egyptians, with all their profound knowledge of the cosmos, were attempting to document something far beyond the reach of our modern understanding? As we stand before the ancient walls of the Hathor Temple and gaze upon the reliefs that seem to depict strange, glowing devices, we are reminded of the depth of the mystery that still surrounds ancient Egypt. The truth of the Dendera light reliefs may never be fully understood, but they serve as a powerful reminder that the past, much like the sky above, is filled with unexplained wonders. What if the ancients were recording something far beyond their time? And if so, what other pieces of lost knowledge might still be hidden in the ruins of Egypt, or in the records held by governments yet to be revealed? The reliefs, with their light-emitting symbols and mysterious energy, continue to challenge our understanding of ancient history. Could the answers to these mysteries be closer than we think, perhaps waiting in forgotten archives or locked government files? As we continue our exploration of the unknown, one thing remains clear: the truth is out there, waiting for us to uncover it. From the mysterious and intricate carvings of Dendera in Egypt, we now turn our attention to an entirely different landscape: the rugged, windswept canyons of Utah in the United States. Here, in the secluded and sometimes eerie expanses of Sego Canyon, lies an extraordinary set of petroglyphs that have puzzled researchers for decades. These ancient markings, etched into the rock faces of the canyon, depict figures that stand apart from the usual representations found in Native American rock art. Some of the figures appear alien-like, with oversized heads, large eyes, and bodies that seem to defy normal human proportions. These petroglyphs, often referred to as the Sego Canyon alien petroglyphs, invite an array of questions that extend far beyond the boundaries of conventional archaeology and into the realm of the unexplained. The Sego Canyon petroglyphs are located in the western United States, in the state of Utah, a region known for its rich history of rock art. The canyon itself is part of a larger cultural landscape, home to various Native American tribes, including the Ute, Paiute, and Fremont peoples, who have left behind thousands of petroglyphs and pictographs throughout the area. These ancient artworks, which are believed to date back anywhere from 2,000 to 10,000 years, offer a window into the spiritual and everyday lives of the region's earliest inhabitants. Most of the carvings depict familiar subjects: animals, hunters, and abstract geometric shapes, all of which fit within the known traditions of the local cultures. However, among these more conventional images, there are those that seem out of place: figures with large, oval-shaped heads, often characterized by prominent, almond-shaped eyes. These figures do not resemble typical human forms, but instead appear to share more in common with the stereotypical depictions of extraterrestrial beings that have become ubiquitous in modern UFO lore. The Sego Canyon alien petroglyphs are striking in their resemblance to the descriptions of greys, the commonly depicted alien species in UFO and abduction narratives. They are often shown in full-body representations, sometimes with elongated limbs and features that seem to suggest a humanoid figure, but with an unmistakable, otherworldly presence. The petroglyphs themselves are part of a larger collection of artwork found throughout the canyon, many of which are concentrated in specific locations along the canyon walls. Some of these carvings are relatively simple and straightforward, depicting animals, figures, and the like. Others, however, are far more intricate, and their meanings are not immediately clear. The alien-like figures are one such mystery, and while their true origins are uncertain, their presence in the context of ancient Native American rock art has led to several theories that range from the scholarly to the speculative. The mainstream interpretation of the Sego Canyon petroglyphs is that they represent figures from the spiritual world. In Native American belief systems, many petroglyphs are thought to depict spirit beings, ancestors, or gods who had the ability to interact with the physical world. The Fremont culture, who are believed to have created many of the petroglyphs in the canyon, were known for their complex spiritual practices, which often included rituals aimed at communicating with spirits and ensuring harmony with nature. The unusual appearance of the alien-like figures could, therefore, be interpreted as symbolic representations of supernatural entities or powerful spirit beings who had the ability to influence the natural world. Yet, the idea that these figures might simply represent spiritual beings doesn't fully explain their striking resemblance to modern depictions of aliens, a resemblance that is hard to ignore. Some researchers argue that this may be more than just a coincidence. The alien-like features, oversized heads, large eyes, and small, thin bodies, mirror the characteristics most commonly associated with extraterrestrial beings in popular culture. Could it be that these petroglyphs are not symbolic of spiritual figures, but are instead representations of actual extraterrestrial encounters? Could the Fremont people have seen beings from the sky and recorded their encounters in a form that we, millennia later, would recognize as alien? The theory that these petroglyphs might represent extraterrestrial visitors is not a new one. There are numerous examples of ancient cultures around the world that depict strange beings from the sky, from the winged gods of Mesopotamia to the sky beings of Australia. Many proponents of the ancient astronaut hypothesis suggest that early human civilizations encountered extraterrestrial beings and recorded these interactions in their artwork. The Sego Canyon alien petroglyphs could, in this context, be seen as part of a larger pattern of ancient artwork that depicts sky visitors, or gods from the stars, who imparted knowledge or guidance to the people of the time. There are other peculiar elements in the Sego Canyon petroglyphs that support this theory. Some of the figures depicted in the carvings seem to be standing near or interacting with unusual objects that might resemble spacecraft or flying chariots. In one of the more curious images, a figure appears to be holding a device that resembles a light or a weapon, pointing it at an alien-like being. The lines connecting the figure and the object in the petroglyphs suggest movement or energy, further fueling the idea that the carvings are depicting an encounter with beings who were capable of advanced technologies far beyond the understanding of the Fremont people. There is also the question of why the Fremont culture, or any ancient civilization for that matter, would have created these representations. Could they have been the result of mythology, where beings from the sky played a central role in the culture's origin stories and spiritual beliefs? Or, as some UFO enthusiasts argue, were these figures meant to serve as a record of actual UFO sightings or alien encounters that occurred long before the modern era? The fact that similar alien-like figures have been found in other cultures across the globe raises the possibility that this was not simply a regional phenomenon, but part of a wider shared experience of ancient extraterrestrial contact. As with so many ancient mysteries, the Sego Canyon alien petroglyphs continue to provoke questions that challenge our understanding of history and our place in the universe. Could these ancient people have had contact with extraterrestrial beings? Were they trying to preserve a record of those encounters in their artwork, just as we might try to document an extraordinary event today? Or are these petroglyphs simply the product of the Fremont culture's imagination, creating figures that symbolize spiritual entities, gods, or spirits from their own belief systems? The answers remain elusive, and perhaps they always will. The Sego Canyon petroglyphs offer a tantalizing glimpse into the ancient past, where the line between mythology, spirituality, and reality might have been far more fluid than we can comprehend. As we continue to study these ancient symbols, one question persists. What if these carvings are not just art, but a hidden history of something far more extraordinary, an encounter with the unknown that remains buried in the rocks of Utah, waiting for us to uncover its true meaning? Leaving behind the desert canyons of Utah, we now travel south to the high plains of Peru, where the ancient Nazca lines stretch across the arid landscape like a giant, mysterious canvas. Carved into the ground over 2,000 years ago, these enormous geoglyphs have fascinated explorers, archaeologists, and researchers for generations. But it is not only the lines themselves that capture attention. Among the most intriguing figures within this ancient site is the Nazca astronaut, an enigmatic figure that has led to some of the most provocative questions about the true purpose and meaning behind the Nazca lines. The Nazca astronaut, often called the astronaut figure, is one of the most striking and perplexing images found in the region. It is part of a larger collection of geoglyphs, giant drawings etched into the earth, that cover a vast area of Peru's Nazca Desert. The figure is portrayed as a humanoid with large, round eyes, a helmet-like structure on its head, and a body that seems to suggest an extraterrestrial being or an ancient astronaut. Its proportions are distorted, with the figure's helmeted head and outstretched limbs giving it a striking resemblance to modern depictions of alien beings. To fully appreciate the mystery of this figure, one must first understand the context of the Nazca lines. The Nazca culture, which flourished between 500 BC and 500 AD, was a society known for its advanced understanding of the environment, astronomy, and engineering. The Nazca lines themselves, which stretch over 50 miles of desert, include over 800 straight lines, 300 geometric shapes, and 70 animal and human figures, most of which can only be fully appreciated from the air. The purpose behind these massive designs remains a subject of debate, with theories ranging from ceremonial or religious purposes to astronomical observatories, or even a way to communicate with gods or extraterrestrial beings. Among these lines and figures, the Nazca astronaut stands out. It shows a figure with a large round head, wide eyes, and an elongated body dressed in a peculiar suit that appears to be a form of space attire. The figure is often depicted as holding some kind of staff or device in its hand, which only adds to the mystery. The overall appearance has led some researchers and UFO enthusiasts to suggest that the Nazca astronaut might not represent a figure from the ancient Nazca culture at all, but could instead depict an alien visitor, a being from the stars, possibly even an extraterrestrial who visited Earth in ancient times. Mainstream archaeologists typically argue that the Nazca astronaut is not a literal alien figure, but a symbolic representation of a shaman or deity associated with the heavens. In Nazca belief, the heavens were closely tied to the gods, and figures like the astronaut could be part of the cosmic imagery meant to represent the connection between Earth and the divine. The figure's outstretched arms and helmet could be seen as symbolic elements used to represent communication or spiritual guidance between the earthly realm and the gods of the sky. However, the idea that this figure might simply represent a god or shaman is difficult to reconcile with the figure's striking resemblance to modern depictions of extraterrestrials. Aliens with large almond-shaped eyes and headgear resembling space helmets have become staples of UFO lore, and the similarities between these modern representations and the ancient Nazca astronaut are hard to ignore. Could the figure truly be a divine figure? Or is it possible that the Nazca people were documenting something far more extraordinary, perhaps a real encounter with beings from another world? One of the most compelling aspects of the Nazca astronaut is its context within the larger array of Nazca lines. The region itself is thought to have been deeply involved in astronomical and cosmological practices, with many of the figures aligning with the stars and celestial bodies. Some scholars point to the possibility that the Nazca astronaut could be a representation of an astronomical event or a cosmic visitor. If ancient Nazca people were indeed documenting celestial events or visitors from space, then it could explain the peculiar appearance of the astronaut figure. Could the Nazca people have seen something in the skies? Perhaps a UFO or other unknown phenomenon that they interpreted as divine or otherworldly. Beyond the visual resemblance to modern depictions of aliens, there are a few other clues in the imagery that raise questions. For example, the staff or object the figure holds in its hand could represent a tool or communication device, further suggesting that the figure might not be a mere symbolic deity, but an actual figure from another realm. The shape and form of the figure suggest an individual of advanced knowledge, perhaps a visitor who brought new understanding to the people of Nazca. But the mystery does not end with the figure's appearance. The Nazca lines themselves, and especially the astronaut figure, pose an even larger question about the purpose of these ancient creations. If we assume that the Nazca astronaut is indeed an alien figure, it invites speculation about why the Nazca people would go to such great lengths to carve out these vast, intricate designs in the desert, designs that could only be fully appreciated from the air. The Nazca lines were likely created over the span of several centuries, and many researchers wonder why the ancient people would construct something that could not be viewed or appreciated in its entirety from the ground. Were they attempting to communicate with forces beyond the Earth? Did they hope to make contact with extraterrestrial visitors who would see the figures from above in the sky? Some proponents of the ancient astronaut theory suggest that the Nazca lines and the Nazca astronaut might be part of a larger pattern of UFO-related encounters that have been recorded throughout history, suggesting that ancient civilizations might have been in contact with extraterrestrial visitors far earlier than we might imagine. The Nazca astronaut, with its otherworldly appearance, might serve as a symbol or record of an encounter that was interpreted as a meeting with a being from the stars. Could the Nazca astronaut truly be a depiction of an extraterrestrial visitor, preserved in stone and sand for millennia? Or is it simply an elaborate artistic representation of a god or spiritual being, part of a rich cultural tradition that blended the divine and the cosmic? The Nazca lines, and the figure of the astronaut in particular, continue to challenge our understanding of the ancient world, leaving us to wonder whether we are looking at spiritual art, astronomical recordings, or perhaps something much more mysterious, a remnant of an ancient and possibly extraterrestrial encounter. As we continue to study the Nazca lines and their meaning, the questions linger. What if the ancient peoples of Nazca were documenting something more extraordinary than we ever imagined? What if these symbols are not just art, but a hidden message waiting to be deciphered? One that bridges the gap between ancient human civilization and the mysteries of the universe? As we journey further back into the depths of ancient history, we now find ourselves in the heart of one of the world's oldest and most influential civilizations, Mesopotamia. The Babylonian Empire, with its towering ziggurats, grand palaces, and intricate city walls, stands as a testament to human ingenuity and ambition. Yet, hidden within the ancient texts of the Babylonians, there exists a narrative that blurs the line between myth and reality, an account of star gods who descended from the heavens, offering their wisdom and knowledge to the people below. In the ruins of ancient Babylon, a city once at the epicenter of the world's cultural and scientific progress, we find clues to a story that has sparked debates and intrigued researchers for centuries. The Babylonian star gods are central figures in Sumerian and Akkadian mythology, and their accounts are found throughout the ancient texts of the region, including the Enuma Elish and the Epic of Gilgamesh. These stories, often passed down through generations, describe beings from the heavens descending to earth, bringing advanced knowledge and, in some cases, even interacting with humanity in a very tangible, physical manner. One of the most significant and recurring themes in these ancient accounts is the idea of divine beings or gods who descend from the stars, sometimes referred to as Anunnaki or Igigi. The Anunnaki, in particular, are often depicted as beings of great power and knowledge who descended from the sky to establish order and civilization on Earth. According to ancient texts, these star gods were not only creators of humanity, but were also involved in teaching the people various skills such as agriculture, writing, and astronomy, abilities that propelled the Sumerians, Akkadians, and later Babylonians into advanced cultural and technological stages. What makes these accounts particularly intriguing is the language used to describe these gods. In various Babylonian texts, the Anunnaki are often depicted as arriving in ships from the sky, or heavenly vessels, a phrasing that has prompted some to wonder whether the Babylonians were describing something more than just gods. Could these star gods have been something else entirely? Beings from another world, arriving on UFOs or other advanced vehicles from the stars? One of the most fascinating pieces of evidence for the Babylonian accounts of star gods can be found in the Ziggurat of Ur, the ancient temple dedicated to the moon god Nana. The ziggurat was a massive structure that rose high above the flat landscape, seemingly reaching toward the stars. This temple, like many others in Mesopotamia, was dedicated to deities believed to control the forces of nature and the cosmos, and the Anunnaki were often considered the intermediaries between humans and the divine realm. The architecture of the ziggurat itself was designed to bring the priesthood closer to the heavens, symbolizing humanity's connection to the gods. But is it possible that the heavenly aspect of these gods' descent is more than just allegorical? Another key text that illuminates the star gods' descent is the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving pieces of literature. In it, the hero Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, is said to have had encounters with beings who were not entirely human. One of the more striking portions of the epic involves Gilgamesh's journey to meet Utnapishtim, a wise figure who survived a great flood, much like the biblical account of Noah. During their conversation, Utnapishtim reveals that he was granted immortality by the gods, which has been interpreted by some researchers as an allusion to an extraterrestrial influence. Could these gods have been advanced beings, possibly even visitors from another world, who bestowed upon Utnapishtim knowledge and gifts far beyond the capabilities of the people of that era? In the Enuma Elish, another creation myth from Mesopotamia, the gods are said to have descended from the heavens in the form of divine ships. These gods were often associated with the planets and stars, and their movements in the sky were seen as omens of great importance. Some scholars suggest that the Babylonians were keen astronomers, capable of mapping the heavens with precision and interpreting the movements of the stars in ways that seem almost modern. The idea that these star gods were not merely divine but perhaps extraterrestrial beings coming to Earth in spacecraft is a theory that some researchers have proposed based on the description of their descent from the skies. Furthermore, the Babylonians' advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics cannot be overlooked. They created highly accurate star charts, calculated the lunar cycle, and even predicted celestial events like eclipses. Some theorists believe that this sophisticated understanding of the cosmos could have come from a source far beyond the abilities of a Bronze Age society. Could the Anunnaki have shared this knowledge with the Babylonians? And if so, where did the gods get their knowledge from? Could it have been passed down from even more advanced beings who traveled to Earth from other planets or star systems? The idea that the Anunnaki or other Babylonian gods were not gods at all, but instead alien visitors, is a theory that has been popularized by proponents of the ancient astronaut hypothesis. According to this theory, ancient civilizations such as the Sumerians and Babylonians encountered extraterrestrial beings who imparted advanced knowledge and technologies to them, shaping their cultures in ways we still do not fully understand. The presence of advanced astronomical knowledge, unusual technological achievements, and depictions of gods descending from the heavens in the form of ships or craft all point to the possibility that the star gods were something far more extraordinary than mythological figures. They may have been actual extraterrestrial visitors. As we piece together the fragments of these ancient Babylonian texts, we are left with an unsettling yet captivating question. Could these star gods have been real? Could the Anunnaki, the gods of ancient Mesopotamia, have been visitors from the stars, offering advanced knowledge and even interacting with humanity in a way that is reflected in their ancient scriptures? One of the most intriguing aspects of these accounts is the deep connection between the Babylonians and the stars. The gods' descent from the heavens, their role in bringing knowledge to Earth, and their connection to celestial bodies all suggest a relationship between humanity and the cosmos that was far more complex than we might expect for an ancient civilization. Could it be that these gods were in fact extraterrestrial beings, interacting with early humans in ways that we still struggle to comprehend? Or were the star gods simply a metaphorical representation of natural forces and celestial phenomena, crafted by the Babylonians to explain their understanding of the universe? In the end, the Babylonian star gods represent one of the most profound mysteries of ancient Mesopotamian civilization. As we continue to uncover the secrets of the past, one can't help but wonder, what if the answers lie not in the realm of mythology, but in the stars themselves? Could these ancient accounts of heavenly visitors be a window into a lost chapter of human history? One where the line between gods and extraterrestrials is not so easily drawn? After exploring the enigmatic descent of the Babylonian star gods, we shift our focus to another fascinating and deeply rooted belief system, one that spans thousands of years and comes from the arid deserts of North America. In the high deserts of Arizona, home to the Hopi tribe, lies a prophecy that has resonated through the generations: the Blue Star Kachina prophecy. It is a tale of cosmic events, celestial beings, and impending change, one that seems to echo themes of extraterrestrial contact and apocalyptic transformation. The Hopi people, indigenous to the southwestern United States, have long held a deep connection to the land, the stars, and the spiritual world. Their oral traditions are rich with stories of Kachinas, spirit beings who are central to their religious beliefs and ceremonial life. These Kachinas are often depicted as masked dancers and are said to bring blessings or warnings to the Hopi people. But the Blue Star Kachina, one of the most powerful and significant figures in Hopi mythology, carries with it a far more urgent and mysterious meaning. The Blue Star Kachina is foretold to appear in the sky as a celestial being with a distinctive blue hue, marking the beginning of a transformation, one that is said to usher in a new era for humanity. This prophecy, passed down through generations, speaks of a time when the Blue Star Kachina will appear in the heavens, signaling the arrival of an era of profound change. According to Hopi tradition, the Blue Star Kachina will be followed by the appearance of a new star, marking the end of a long cycle and the beginning of another. The blue star, in many interpretations, is seen as a harbinger of an approaching transformation, and the prophecy predicts a period of cosmic renewal that will bring about a shift in the world's consciousness. While the prophecy itself is often viewed through the lens of Hopi spirituality, many scholars and researchers have sought to connect it to broader, more universal themes. Some argue that the Blue Star Kachina could symbolize a UFO encounter or the arrival of an extraterrestrial presence. The vivid description of a celestial being appearing in the sky, followed by a new star, immediately brings to mind modern accounts of UFO sightings and alien contact. Could the Hopi prophecy be speaking of an encounter with beings from beyond our world, just as ancient cultures around the globe seem to have recorded their own celestial encounters? The Hopi prophecy also speaks of warning signs preceding the arrival of the Blue Star Kachina, signs of planetary distress and the degradation of the natural world. The prophecy tells of a time when the Earth will be ravaged by environmental collapse, wars, and natural disasters, all of which will be signs that the time for the Kachina's appearance is near. This, too, seems to mirror many modern concerns about the future of humanity, the ecological crises, the political unrest, and the growing sense that something significant is unfolding on the global stage. In Hopi tradition, the Blue Star Kachina is not a figure that brings destruction, but rather represents change, a cosmic event that signals the need for humanity to undergo a spiritual awakening. The prophecy suggests that humanity will need to return to balance with nature and the universe to survive the challenges that lie ahead. It calls for a return to the ancient ways, a deepening of spiritual understanding, and a renewal of the connection between humans and the earth. However, as with many ancient prophecies, the Blue Star Kachina prophecy is not without its mysteries. Some UFO researchers have proposed that the figure of the Blue Star Kachina could be a metaphor for an alien race, or even a symbol of extraterrestrial influence. Could the appearance of the Blue Star Kachina represent a UFO sighting, or the arrival of beings who have been watching over humanity, waiting for the right moment to make contact? There is no definitive answer, but the connections between the prophecy and the modern UFO phenomenon cannot be easily dismissed. The Hopi, with their deeply spiritual and cosmologically attuned worldview, speak of a circular nature of time, where everything in the universe is part of a great cosmic cycle. It's said that the Blue Star Kachina will be the final sign, the last symbol before a new era begins. What makes this particular prophecy so striking is its timing. The Hopi believe that the Blue Star Kachina will appear just before the completion of this cycle, in a moment that could coincide with modern humanity's greatest transition. Is it possible that the Hopi knew of celestial phenomena? or even extraterrestrial encounters long before the modern age? Could their prophecy be a reflection of ancient experiences with visitors from the stars? The idea that ancient peoples had knowledge of cosmic events far beyond their time is not new. Throughout history, civilizations have recorded star gods, sky beings, and celestial encounters, often in ways that closely resemble modern UFO sightings. The blue star Kachina prophecy, like other ancient myths, remains open to interpretation. Was it a warning, a spiritual prophecy, or is it something more, a memory of past encounters with advanced civilizations or extraterrestrial visitors? Some believe that the Kachina's appearance is symbolic of humanity's need to evolve, to embrace a higher state of being before the next phase of human existence. In this sense, the blue star Kachina could be a call to action, a plea for people to remember their true nature and restore balance to the world before it is too late. The mystery of the blue star Kachina is one that persists. The prophecy is tied to cosmic events, celestial cycles, and cosmic forces that are beyond the understanding of many. As the modern world continues to grapple with issues such as environmental destruction, political chaos, and the search for extraterrestrial life, the Hopi prophecy serves as a reminder of the long history of spiritual and cosmic awareness held by indigenous peoples. What if the prophecy is not just a myth, but a cosmic warning, a message to humanity that its actions have consequences, and that the time for change is fast approaching? Perhaps the blue star Kachina is more than just a figure in Hopi belief. Perhaps it is a symbol of a shift that is already underway, one that beckons us to look to the stars for answers. Could the Kachina be a sign of a coming transformation, an event that is still hidden from our understanding, waiting to reveal itself at the right moment? The answers remain elusive, but as we move through this age of uncertainty, the blue star Kachina reminds us that the mysteries of the cosmos are as ancient as humanity itself, and perhaps, just perhaps, we are on the brink of finally understanding what lies beyond the stars. Following the evocative prophecy of the Hopi blue star Kachina, we now turn to another ancient tradition that speaks of heavenly visitors, the Maya civilization. In the dense jungles of Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico, remnants of the ancient Maya rise from the earth. Pyramids, temples, and cities whose grandeur still whispers of a forgotten time. Tikal, Chichen Itza, and Palenque are only a few of the most famous sites where these monumental structures stand, offering a glimpse into one of the most advanced societies of the ancient world. Among the vast collection of Maya myths and legends, one text stands out: the Popol Vuh, the Maya creation myth. This sacred book, written in the Quiche Maya language in the early 16th century, contains not only the history of the Maya people, but also a series of stories that speak of sky travelers, beings who came from beyond the stars and played a pivotal role in the fate of humanity. At the heart of the Popol Vuh are the hero twins, Hunahpu and Xbalanque, who journey to the underworld to face trials that will determine the fate of the world. But within these stories are also references to beings who travel from the sky, often described as gods or supernatural entities that descend from the heavens to intervene in the affairs of the Maya. These sky travelers are not just spiritual figures, but beings who seem to possess knowledge and technology far beyond that of the ancient Maya. Descriptions of their appearances, their movements through the sky, and their association with the stars have led some to wonder if these figures might not simply be mythological gods, but rather representations of extraterrestrial beings, or UFOs. In the Popol Vuh, the gods that descend from the heavens are often described as being from the stars, or as mysterious beings who come to offer knowledge and wisdom to the Maya. The most notable of these is the figure of Kukulkan, also known as Quetzalcoatl.
a feathered serpent deity who is said to have come from the heavens to teach the Maya people about agriculture, astronomy, and writing. All essential elements that helped elevate the Maya civilization to its legendary status. The descriptions of Kukulkan's descent from the sky are vivid. He is said to have arrived in a cloud of smoke, descending from the heavens in a mysterious, celestial manner, much like the descriptions of modern UFO sightings. The connection between Kukulkan and extraterrestrial visitors has been made by several researchers who suggest that the feathered serpent could be symbolic of beings who arrived from another world, bringing knowledge that far exceeded the capabilities of the Maya. If Kukulkan was indeed an alien figure, it would make sense that the Maya would have interpreted his arrival as a divine visitation, an event beyond their comprehension. This theory draws parallels to similar sky gods from other ancient cultures, like the Anunnaki of Mesopotamia or the star gods of the Hopi. All these deities share one central characteristic. They are beings from the heavens, offering wisdom and guidance to humanity. But the Popol Vuh is not just about gods or heroes. It is also about the struggle between life and death, between the forces of creation and destruction. Within this cosmic battle, the hero twins encounter beings who seem to possess powers that go beyond the normal human experience. These figures, too, are often described as supernatural beings who come from the sky, perhaps even extraterrestrial visitors whose influence shaped the Maya worldview and cosmology. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Popol Vuh is the role of the sky itself. The Maya were known for their advanced understanding of the heavens. They created highly accurate star charts, tracked the movements of the planets, and used astronomical observations to dictate the flow of time. The Popol Vuh reflects this deep connection to the celestial realm. The hero twins are not only involved in earthly battles but also in cosmic ones, with their adventures often reflecting the movement of celestial bodies. The idea of beings descending from the sky and interacting with the people below could be a reflection of the Maya's understanding of the universe, an understanding that was perhaps informed by visitors from the stars. Is it possible that the Maya, with their deep connection to the heavens, were not simply observing the sky, but were in contact with beings from other worlds? The idea that the Popol Vuh might be documenting actual extraterrestrial encounters is compelling, especially when considering the technology and knowledge the Maya exhibited. Their achievements in mathematics, astronomy, and engineering seem to suggest that they had access to knowledge far ahead of their time, knowledge that may have been gifted to them by sky travelers. There is also the possibility that the Maya were not only the recipients of this knowledge, but also active participants in the cosmic drama described in the Popol Vuh. The hero twins' journey to the underworld, their battles with the forces of darkness, and their ultimate triumph are symbolic of the eternal struggle between light and dark, between life and death. But could this story also be a metaphor for an actual alien intervention, with beings from the heavens guiding and testing the Maya in their quest for enlightenment? Could the Popol Vuh be an ancient record of the Maya's contact with extraterrestrial visitors who imparted wisdom and tested the human spirit? The connections between the Maya's mythology and extraterrestrial contact are not new. Many researchers have suggested that the Maya were in touch with otherworldly beings, and that their calendar, especially the famous Mayan long count calendar, was a way of tracking not only time but cosmic events that could signal the arrival of celestial visitors. The Maya's deep reverence for the sky and their fascination with the stars may have been a reflection of their awareness of something much larger than themselves, an awareness of the cosmic forces that govern the universe and perhaps even the presence of extraterrestrial civilizations. As we continue to delve into the mysteries of ancient civilizations, the story of the Maya and their sky travelers remains one of the most compelling. The Popol Vuh provides us with a window into a worldview that saw the heavens as a realm of profound importance,
a place where gods and extraterrestrials interacted with humanity in ways that were beyond comprehension. As we reflect on the significance of the Maya's sky gods, we must ask ourselves, what if the ancient accounts of these celestial beings were not just mythology, but a record of actual extraterrestrial contact? What if the knowledge passed down through the ages in the Popol Vuh was the result of an ancient encounter with beings from another world, a civilization far older and more advanced than our own? The mystery of the Maya's sky travelers remains unresolved, but one thing is certain: the connection between the heavens, cosmic forces, and the Maya is a thread that continues to fascinate and provoke questions. The stories of the Popol Vuh invite us to look up, to consider the possibility that we are not alone in the universe, and to wonder whether the ancient peoples of Mesoamerica were not only aware of the stars, but were also in contact with beings from beyond them. As we leave behind the cosmic mysteries of the Maya and their sky travelers, our journey now takes us to one of the world's oldest continuous cultures, where the connection to the heavens runs deep, woven into the very fabric of their spirituality. Across the vast, arid landscapes of Australia, the Aboriginal peoples have lived for tens of thousands of years. Their culture, art, and stories tied to the land and the stars. The Aboriginal sky visitors' legends, some of the most profound and ancient stories in human history, speak of celestial beings, visitors from the sky who descend to the earth, leaving behind enigmatic knowledge and teachings. The Aboriginal Australians, one of the oldest living cultures on Earth, have long had a rich tradition of storytelling, passed down through the generations. These stories, called Dreamtime stories or dreaming, describe the creation of the world, the land, and the stars. But buried within these oral traditions are tales of beings from the sky, arriving in ways that seem to mirror modern descriptions of UFOs and extraterrestrial encounters. The Wandjina spirits, who are central to the mythology of the Aboriginal peoples of the Kimberley region in Western Australia, are among the most well-known of these sky visitors. The Wandjina are depicted as ancient, powerful beings, often shown with large, round heads and blank, featureless faces, features that many modern UFO enthusiasts find strikingly similar to the descriptions of gray aliens seen in contemporary UFO sightings. The Wandjina are said to have descended from the sky, coming to the earth in a time of great need, when the world was in chaos. They are not simply mythological figures, but sacred spirits who are believed to hold the power to create rain and protect the land. In the rock art of the Kimberley region, some of the oldest and most significant depictions of the Wandjina can be found. These ancient paintings show figures with large, oval heads, hollow eyes, and sometimes even what appear to be helmets or other forms of headgear, an odd resemblance to modern depictions of alien visitors. Some of these figures are also shown with arms raised, as if in the act of performing some sort of ritual or offering. These Wandjina paintings are more than just representations of deities. They are believed to serve as a connection between the earth and the sky, a bridge between the human world and the realm of the divine, or the extraterrestrial. The Aboriginal people of the Kimberley believe that the Wandjina still watch over the land, and that their power can influence the natural world, bringing rain or even preventing disasters. The Wandjina are just one aspect of the Aboriginal sky visitors. Across different Aboriginal groups in Australia, there are other stories of beings that came from the sky. The Pleiadians, for example, are mentioned in some oral traditions as a group of celestial beings who arrived from the Pleiades star cluster, often referred to as the Seven Sisters. The Aboriginal people of Western Australia speak of the Sky People, who came from the stars to teach the people the ways of the world. In the Anangu culture of the Western Desert, there are also stories of sky beings who descended from the stars and brought with them knowledge of the heavens, agriculture, and hunting techniques. One particularly intriguing legend comes from the Yolngu people of northern Australia, who speak of a star spirit that descended to Earth. This spirit, they say, arrived in a shining light that was seen across the sky, an event that was witnessed by the entire tribe. The shining light in the sky could have been interpreted as a comet, a meteor, or even a UFO, but the Yolngu people regard this spirit as an otherworldly being, someone who guided the tribe for a time before ascending back into the sky. But it's not just the stories of celestial visitors themselves that capture the imagination. It's also the uncanny knowledge that they imparted to the Aboriginal people. The Wandjina, for example, are said to have taught the Aboriginal people how to hunt and gather food, how to use fire, and how to read the stars. These lessons go beyond what would have been known to the people at the time. Some researchers suggest that these teachings may have been too advanced for the time period in which they were supposedly given. Could the Aboriginal people have had contact with advanced extraterrestrial civilizations who provided this knowledge? Or were the Wandjina and other sky visitors simply symbolic representations of natural forces that the Aboriginal people revered and respected? One of the most compelling aspects of the Aboriginal sky visitors' legends is the idea that these beings came from the Pleiades, a star cluster that has been a source of fascination for many ancient cultures around the world. The Pleiades, often referred to as the Seven Sisters, appear in the night sky as a small group of bright stars. In Aboriginal tradition, these stars are not just distant points of light. They are intimately connected to the origins of humanity and the arrival of celestial beings. Could it be that these ancient people were aware of the Pleiades long before modern telescopes confirmed its location? Some researchers believe that the Aboriginal people may have had some form of astronomical knowledge that was far ahead of their time, a knowledge passed down from sky visitors who were watching over them. Another fascinating element is the idea that these sky visitors didn't just appear in the past, but are still active today. Many Aboriginal groups believe that the Wandjina and other sky beings continue to watch over the land, and that they can still influence events. Some even believe that these beings will return when humanity needs them most, perhaps at a time of great upheaval or cataclysmic change. Could this be a reflection of an ancient prophecy, one that suggests the sky visitors will return when humanity is ready to face the next stage of its evolution? As we reflect on these legends, the mystery only deepens. Could these stories be the remnants of ancient encounters with extraterrestrial visitors, passed down through generations as myths or legends? Or are the Wandjina, the sky people, and the Pleiadian visitors simply symbolic of natural forces, a way for the Aboriginal people to explain the mysteries of the world around them? The similarities between these ancient stories and modern UFO sightings are hard to ignore. The descriptions of beings descending from the sky, the knowledge imparted to humanity, and the otherworldly qualities of these visitors are strikingly similar to many modern alien contact reports. Perhaps the Aboriginal peoples were not just imagining sky visitors, but were in fact recording real events that took place long ago. As we continue to unravel the mysteries of ancient civilizations and their encounters with the unknown, the question remains: what if these stories are not just myths, but ancient records of extraterrestrial contact? What if the Aboriginal sky visitors were not merely figures of imagination, but real beings who came from the stars, imparting knowledge and guiding humanity in ways we are just beginning to understand? The legends of the Aboriginal sky visitors remind us that the connection between humanity and the heavens may be much older and more profound than we realize. The answers to these questions are still hidden in the stars, waiting to be uncovered. As we continue our exploration of ancient civilizations and their mysterious connections to the skies, we move from the ancient deserts of Australia and the vast jungles of Mesoamerica. Here, among the ruins of ancient cities and temples, lies a codex, a sacred book, that holds within it not only the mythology and wisdom of a lost civilization, but also cryptic references to sky serpents and celestial phenomena that continue to puzzle modern scholars and enthusiasts alike. We are talking about the Dresden Codex, one of the most significant and well-preserved Mayan texts to have survived the ravages of time. This codex, created around the 11th century AD, is an ancient Maya manuscript that contains a wealth of astronomical and calendrical information. It is a complex compilation of prophecies, rituals, and knowledge inscribed on folded paper made from bark and meticulously illustrated with intricate drawings. But woven throughout its pages are strange, almost otherworldly images that have sparked the imagination of those who study ancient Mesoamerican cultures. Among these enigmatic symbols are representations of sky serpents, beings that seem to defy explanation. In some illustrations, these serpents are shown descending from the heavens, their sinuous bodies coiling through the sky, their heads crowned with feathers, and their tails often stretching toward the earth. These creatures, sometimes referred to as Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent deity, are often depicted in conjunction with other celestial symbols, such as the sun, the moon, and the stars. The Dresden Codex, one of the primary sources of Mayan astronomical knowledge, is not just a record of cosmic cycles, but seems to hold within it a coded message, a mystical map of the heavens, guiding those who can read it toward a deeper understanding of the forces that govern the universe. The sky serpents, in particular, are a focal point of this celestial narrative. But what exactly do these serpents represent? At first glance, the Mayan sky serpents might seem like mere mythological creatures, the stuff of ancient folklore and divine legends. However, when we look more closely, a different picture begins to emerge. The presence of these serpents in the Dresden Codex is not a random occurrence, nor is it simply a metaphor for the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl, revered throughout Mesoamerica. The Codex is filled with detailed astronomical data, and many researchers believe that the serpents may symbolize comets or other celestial objects that appear in the sky, carrying with them both awe and fear as they move through the heavens. The Maya, as expert astronomers, were incredibly adept at predicting celestial events, including eclipses, the movements of planets, and the appearance of comets. In fact, the Maya were so skilled that their calendar systems, such as the long count calendar, were far more accurate than any other civilization of the time. Their knowledge of the stars was not only used for practical purposes, such as the timing of planting and harvesting, but also for rituals and prophecies. The appearance of a sky serpent, perhaps a comet or a celestial alignment, could have been interpreted as an omen, a sign from the gods, or even the arrival of beings from the stars. The Dresden Codex shows these sky serpents in dramatic scenes where they seem to interact with the gods or even descend to earth, creating a direct link between the heavens and the earthly realm. In these scenes, the serpents are shown not only in their celestial forms, but also descending with beams of light or otherworldly energy, making it seem as if they were not just simple objects of nature but symbols of divine power or cosmic beings. These visual elements are reminiscent of modern depictions of UFO sightings, where craft are seen descending from the sky, accompanied by strange lights or energy patterns. What if these sky serpents were not just representations of comets or astronomical phenomena, but actual visitors from the heavens? Could the Maya have been recording ancient encounters with beings from other worlds? Beings that arrived through fiery, serpent-like vessels or craft, just as described in modern UFO reports. Some researchers, drawing parallels between the Maya's sky serpents and modern UFO sightings, suggest that the Codex contains not just ritualistic knowledge, but a kind of alien history, preserved for centuries in symbolic imagery. The sky serpents could then be viewed not as abstract symbols, but as representations of extraterrestrial visitors who played a role in shaping Mayan culture and astronomy. The complex imagery in the codex could be interpreted as evidence of a contact between the Maya and advanced beings, an event recorded through the lenses of myth and symbolism. The idea that the Maya were in contact with extraterrestrials is not a new theory. In fact, many ancient cultures, from the Egyptians to the Sumerians, have similar stories of gods or sky beings coming from the heavens, often described in ways that are strikingly similar to modern accounts of UFO encounters. But the Maya are perhaps the most compelling example, as their astronomical knowledge and their detailed star maps show a level of understanding that suggests an advanced, otherworldly influence. Another intriguing aspect of the Dresden Codex is the way in which the sky serpents appear in association with cosmic cycles, particularly those involving Venus. The Maya were obsessed with the planet Venus, which they saw as a symbol of both creation and destruction. In the Codex, the sky serpents are often linked to the movements of Venus, as well as to the sun and moon. Some researchers speculate that the serpents could be symbolic of planetary alignments or celestial events involving Venus, which was often seen as a harbinger of change or transformation. Could the Maya's obsession with Venus have been inspired by encounters with extraterrestrial beings who may have had advanced knowledge of celestial mechanics far beyond what the Maya could have observed with their naked eye? The Dresden Codex thus becomes a key artifact in the ongoing investigation into the Mayan connection to the heavens, and perhaps even to extraterrestrial beings. It is a mysterious text, filled with astronomical data, prophecies, and celestial imagery that seem to point toward something beyond mere myth or superstition. Could these sky serpents be evidence of a contact so ancient, so deeply embedded in the Mayan consciousness, that it has been encoded into their sacred texts and preserved for millennia? As we consider these questions, we must reflect on the nature of the Maya's incredible astronomical knowledge and their deep connection to the stars. The sky serpents depicted in the Dresden Codex are more than just symbols of the gods. They are an enduring reminder of the mysterious and inexplicable forces that may have shaped human history. Whether they represent celestial events, divine interventions, or encounters with beings from another world, the mystery of the Mayan sky serpents remains unsolved. The Dresden Codex, with its complex imagery, cryptic symbols, and mysterious celestial objects, raises more questions than answers. What were the Maya really trying to tell us? What did they see in the sky that we are still trying to understand today? As we continue to unlock the secrets of ancient civilizations, we must ask, could the sky serpents of the Dresden Codex be more than just myth? Could they represent an encounter with something from the stars? Something that remains hidden, waiting for us to discover the truth? Maya's profound astronomical expertise, exemplified in the codices, may have been built upon centuries of accumulated knowledge, potentially passed down by a civilization or even beings that had access to advanced technology. If the sky serpents are indeed a metaphor for extraterrestrial encounters, it would suggest that the Maya were aware of events in the heavens far beyond what their terrestrial tools could explain. These mysterious symbols might therefore serve as a coded language, a testament to an ancient connection with forces that shaped their view of the universe. Another fascinating layer to the story lies in the connection between the Mayan calendar system and their observations of Venus. The Maya saw Venus as both a deity and a harbinger, its cyclical movements representing a time of upheaval and transformation. The apparent synchronicity of these celestial events with the appearance of the sky serpents could indicate that the Maya believed these moments in time were not simply random. Rather, they were deeply influenced by celestial bodies, or perhaps by entities that interacted with the Maya at pivotal moments in history. The precise and highly sophisticated nature of their astronomical calculations raises the question: could their knowledge have been enhanced or even initiated by outside sources? Finally, the presence of the sky serpents in the Dresden Codex could point to a more symbolic meaning, one that reflects the Mayas' perception of life, death, and rebirth. The serpents, often seen as agents of both creation and destruction, might symbolize the eternal cycle of the cosmos, with their movements reflecting the constant ebb and flow of time itself. However, the possibility that these serpents also represent an extraterrestrial influence adds a layer of complexity to this interpretation. Whether they are seen as messengers from the gods, representations of planetary cycles, or symbols of otherworldly contact, the sky serpents remain a powerful and enigmatic symbol, inviting further exploration into the mysteries of the ancient world. As our journey through ancient civilizations continues, we now find ourselves in the rugged hills of Lebanon, a place steeped in both history and mystery. Nestled in the heart of the Bekaa Valley, the ruins of Baalbek stand as one of the most awe-inspiring archaeological sites in the world. The remnants of its ancient temples, dedicated to the Roman gods Jupiter, Venus, and Bacchus, speak to the grandeur of the civilization that once called this site home. Yet beyond its established Roman history, there is a peculiar feature of Baalbek that has long puzzled historians, archaeologists, and explorers: the so-called landing platform. At the core of Baalbek's mystery lies the Temple of Jupiter, an imposing structure whose massive foundation stones have become the subject of both awe and confusion. Among these stones, some of the largest and most perfectly cut in the ancient world, are 3 colossal blocks, each weighing an astonishing 800 tons. To put that into perspective, these blocks are so massive that modern cranes would struggle to lift them. How could a civilization so far removed from modern technology have transported and precisely placed such enormous stones? The landing platform theory arises from this very question. For centuries, scholars have struggled to explain how the ancient builders of Baalbek managed to move and position these massive stones with such precision. The traditional explanation involves large teams of laborers, rudimentary tools, and sheer manpower. However, this theory fails to fully account for the sheer scale of the stones and the engineering marvel required to place them so perfectly. It is here that a more speculative and increasingly popular idea begins to take shape. Some believe that the foundation stones at Baalbek were not intended to be the mere base of a temple, but rather a landing platform for something far more extraordinary. According to this theory, the massive stones were designed for the landing of a craft, perhaps an alien spacecraft, suggesting that Baalbek may have served as an ancient spaceport where extraterrestrial visitors once touched down on Earth. This landing platform theory does not rely solely on the sheer size of the stones, but also on the peculiar layout and placement of the temples themselves, which some suggest may have been designed to align with the heavens in ways that we still do not fully understand. The theory that Baalbek could have been a site of extraterrestrial activity draws attention to the region's ancient legends. The Phoenicians, who inhabited the area long before the Romans arrived, were known for their seafaring and technological prowess. Ancient texts describe visitors from the sky, beings who arrived in shining ships and imparted knowledge to the people below. These gods from the heavens could have been the inspiration for later deities worshipped at Baalbek, and their arrival could very well have been recorded as otherworldly encounters. But how did these civilizations, lacking modern engineering tools, manage to construct a platform so large and so precise that even today's technology would find it difficult to replicate? The sheer difficulty of moving such heavy stones raises an intriguing possibility. Could the landing platform have been designed for the arrival of a highly advanced race, one capable of defying the technological limitations of the time? Some point to ancient accounts that describe beams of light, hovering crafts, and mysterious flying objects. Could these stories be rooted in a time when extraterrestrials made contact with early human civilizations? As we move beyond the surface of this theory, we must also consider the alignments of the Baalbek site with certain astronomical events. The site's location in relation to the stars and its precise alignment with the solstices and equinoxes hints at a knowledge of celestial movements that might have been passed down from advanced visitors, beings who knew how to track the heavens far better than those who came after. This careful positioning suggests that Baalbek was not just a random construction, but rather a site of cosmic significance. Some proponents of the landing platform theory believe that the Roman temple at Baalbek was, in fact, built on top of a much older structure, one that predates Roman civilization. The precise engineering of the platform, the scale of the stones, and the alignment with celestial bodies all point to the possibility that Baalbek's origins stretch back further than we have been able to trace. It is suggested that the original builders of this site might have had access to knowledge or technology that was far beyond what the Romans or even the earlier civilizations could have developed on their own. But was Baalbek a sacred site where the gods descended from the heavens, or was it an ancient spaceport, a landing platform for extraterrestrial visitors who left behind a legacy of engineering? Marvels and astronomical wisdom? Could the very foundation of this mysterious structure be evidence of a time when advanced beings made contact with early human cultures? Perhaps, in their attempt to explain these otherworldly visitors, the ancient people of Baalbek integrated their experiences into their mythologies and religions, attributing these encounters to divine beings or gods who came from the sky. The alignment of Baalbek with the stars is another crucial element that adds weight to the theory. Many ancient cultures, including the Egyptians and Maya, constructed their temples and cities in alignment with celestial bodies, believing that the heavens held the key to understanding human existence. Baalbek's alignment with the constellations and its symbolic connection to light and energy adds further intrigue to the possibility that this site may have been designed to interact with extraterrestrial forces. However, there are skeptics who argue that the site is simply an example of impressive human ingenuity without any extraterrestrial involvement. They point out that the Romans, with their advanced engineering techniques, were fully capable of constructing large, monumental structures, and that the large stones of Baalbek were likely transported and positioned through human labor and skill. After all, the Romans built aqueducts, roads, and cities across their empire, using techniques that were highly advanced for the time. Still, the questions surrounding Baalbek remain. Was this site simply an architectural achievement of the Roman Empire, or was it something more, a sacred platform designed for the descent of sky gods, or perhaps a landing site for extraterrestrial visitors? Could the enormous stones be more than just the product of human labor and ingenuity, and instead point to a time when advanced beings arrived to share their knowledge with humanity? The Baalbek landing platform theory does not offer definitive answers, but it opens the door to an ongoing mystery that continues to intrigue and inspire those who seek to uncover the secrets of ancient civilizations. Whether the site was constructed by humans or influenced by extraterrestrial visitors, the legacy of Baalbek serves as a poignant reminder of our ancient past, a past that may hold far more than we can currently understand. As we continue to study these ancient ruins, we are left with the same question that is echoed through centuries. What if we are not alone and never have been? Additionally, the mysterious presence of massive stone blocks, some weighing as much as 800 tons, at Baalbek's Temple of Jupiter prompts further questions about the tools and techniques employed in their transportation and placement. While modern engineers are still in awe of the scale and precision of these constructions, the notion that extraterrestrial technology might have been involved adds an extra layer of intrigue. If the ancient builders had access to some form of advanced, even alien technology, It would help explain how such monumental stones could have been moved and manipulated with the precision seen in the ruins today. Could these blocks serve as more than just architectural components? Could they be markers or remnants of a time when humanity and extraterrestrials shared knowledge, and perhaps even collaborated on the construction of sacred sites? Yet, despite the compelling theories surrounding Baalbek, skepticism remains a significant force in the academic and archaeological communities. Critics argue that the site's construction, though awe-inspiring, can be attributed to human ingenuity and the mastery of Roman engineering. The Romans were known for their advanced knowledge of architecture, mathematics, and labor organization, which would have enabled them to complete such a monumental project without extraterrestrial help. The large stones, they suggest, were likely moved using a combination of ramps, levers, and human-powered systems, nothing more than a testament to the impressive skills of ancient builders. While these arguments are grounded in logic, they fail to fully explain the extraordinary precision and alignment of Baalbek's structures with the heavens, which continues to spark fascination and speculation among those who look to the stars for answers. As we continue our exploration of ancient mysteries and their potential connections to extraterrestrial encounters, we arrive in the waters of the East China Sea, off the coast of Yonaguni, a small island in Japan's Ryukyu archipelago. This island, often overlooked by tourists and scholars alike, holds a deep, submerged secret that has baffled explorers, archaeologists, and historians for decades. The Yonaguni Monument. At first glance, the Yonaguni Monument appears to be a natural formation, a submerged rock structure rising from the depths of the sea. Sharp, angular terraces, step-like formations, and smooth, flat surfaces create a strikingly unnatural pattern, almost too precise to be the result of erosion alone. The structure itself spans hundreds of feet across the ocean floor, with some portions protruding as much as 25 feet above the water at low tide. Its vast size and geometrical shapes, reminiscent of ancient step pyramids or even the Machu Picchu terraces, raise immediate questions. Could this be the remains of a forgotten, submerged city, or is it a natural rock formation shaped by millennia of tectonic shifts? The first official discovery of the monument occurred in 1987, when a Japanese diver named Kihachiro Aratake noticed the strange features of the site while conducting underwater research near Yonaguni. His discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community, as the monument appeared far too sophisticated to have been formed by natural processes. Over the years, further dives and studies revealed a vast structure, complete with terraces, what appeared to be a ritual platform, and possible stone steps leading from one section of the site to another. What is most intriguing, however, is that Yonaguni Monument is located in a region with a long history of ancient civilizations, and many have proposed that it might be the remnants of an ancient lost civilization, one that predates the earliest known cultures of Sumerians, Egyptians, or even Indus Valley civilizations. Could this structure be a relic from a time long before recorded history? Or perhaps, could it be evidence of an advanced civilization lost to the depths of time, swallowed by the rising sea levels caused by the end of the last ice age? The mystery deepens when you consider the features of the monument itself. Several precise, straight edges run across the stone blocks, and what seem to be cut grooves are visible in certain areas, leading some to suggest that the monument was deliberately shaped or worked by a skilled civilization. Could these massive stones have been intentionally carved to create a structure that once stood above the sea? Some have even speculated that it could have been a ritualistic site, a place for ceremonial offerings or astronomical observation, designed to align with specific celestial events or cosmic phenomena. But if this is the product of human hands, the implications are staggering. The current theory is that the Yonaguni Monument is likely a remnant of a submerged city,
potentially dating back to as much as 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, a time period that coincides with the end of the Ice Age and the flooding of many ancient coastal settlements around the world. Could this be the remains of an ancient civilization that flourished during a time when sea levels were much lower and land now submerged was once dry and accessible? To complicate matters further, there are alternative theories that suggest the monument is not the work of humans at all, but rather the result of natural forces, an odd geological formation created by tectonic activity, erosion, and the flow of water. Skeptics argue that the monument's straight edges and sharp angles are simply the result of the forces of nature acting on the underwater rock formations over millions of years. Could it be that what we see today is just a natural formation that appears too perfect to be natural due to our biases toward recognizing patterns? There are also those who believe that the monument could represent something much more extraordinary, a potential artifact of extraterrestrial influence. According to this theory, the precision and structure of the Yonaguni monument, with its meticulously cut angles and seemingly unnatural features, could point to an ancient interaction with advanced beings, whose technology was far more sophisticated than anything humanity had at the time. Could these sky visitors have left behind their own marks on Earth, constructing or influencing the building of such monumental structures? Some proponents of this theory draw parallels between the Yonaguni monument and other ancient mysterious sites around the world, such as the pyramids of Egypt, the Nazca lines in Peru, and the megalithic structures of Stonehenge. All of these sites share unexplained characteristics, from the precision of their construction to the alignment with celestial bodies, leading some to suggest that they could all be remnants of a global network of ancient civilizations, perhaps even those with connections to extraterrestrial beings. But what of the historical evidence? There are ancient myths from the region that speak of sky gods and visitors from the stars, offering clues that might shed light on the monument's origin. Could these myths represent cultural memories of encounters with beings from other worlds? The island of Yonaguni itself has long been a place of folklore and mysticism, with legends that speak of beings descending from the sky, as well as mysterious sea creatures and hidden underwater cities. Yet despite these tantalizing clues, the evidence remains largely circumstantial. There is no clear-cut answer as to whether the monument is human-made, the result of natural forces, or the work of extraterrestrial visitors. How do we explain the sheer scale and precision of the structure? Is it possible that a lost civilization, now swallowed by the sea, once possessed the knowledge and technology to construct such an impressive edifice? Or are we simply projecting our own interpretations onto the site, trying to fill in the blanks with theories that fit our own biases and desires for mystery? The questions surrounding the Yonaguni monument are not easily answered. We are left with a strange and perplexing enigma, a massive stone structure submerged beneath the ocean, seemingly designed for purposes that remain unclear. Was it a ritualistic site, an astronomical observatory, or a landing platform for visitors from the sky? Or perhaps it is the remains of an ancient city, one that has long since disappeared beneath the waves. As we reflect on this mystery, we cannot help but wonder, what else might be hidden beneath the waters of the world's oceans, waiting to be uncovered? What ancient secrets lie in the depths, waiting for the right discovery to shed light on our distant past? The Yonaguni monument is just one of many mysteries. Its answers remain elusive, its origin still unknown. But perhaps in these unanswered questions lies the key to uncovering the deeper truth of humanity's history and its possible connection to the stars. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Yonaguni monument is the ongoing debate between natural formation and human craftsmanship. Some scholars argue that the monument's regular geometric shapes and terraces are purely the result of natural forces, such as tectonic activity and erosion. Others, however, point to the striking symmetry and precision of the structure,
suggesting that it could not have been formed by nature alone. The alignment of the monument with celestial bodies, if proven, could support the hypothesis that it was intentionally constructed by an ancient civilization with advanced astronomical knowledge. In either case, the Yonaguni monument remains a captivating enigma, its purpose and origin a tantalizing puzzle that invites both scientific inquiry and speculative theories about the role of extraterrestrials in shaping the ancient world. What's particularly intriguing about the Yonaguni monument is the possibility that it could be a remnant of a civilization far older than any we have historical records for. According to some researchers, the structure could predate the rise of known ancient cultures by thousands of years, potentially pointing to a time when the sea levels were lower and vast lands, now submerged, were still habitable. If this is the case, the Yonaguni monument could be a relic of a lost civilization that existed long before recorded history, one that might have had contact with other advanced cultures, or even extraterrestrial beings. Such a discovery would force us to reconsider the timeline of human development and challenge our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies. Moreover, the idea of a sky people myth being connected to the Yonaguni monument opens up even more possibilities. Ancient cultures around the world have stories of gods or beings descending from the heavens, bringing knowledge and wisdom to Earth. If these myths were inspired by actual encounters with extraterrestrial visitors, it would explain why such stories are so pervasive across different civilizations, from the Sumerians to the Aztecs. Perhaps the people of the ancient world were not only observing the stars, but also experiencing direct contact with them. If the Yonaguni monument was part of this phenomenon, either as a symbolic representation or a physical site for extraterrestrial landings, it could be an enduring reminder of humanity's potential connection to the stars, a connection that may be far older and more profound than we can yet comprehend. As we move from the submerged ruins of Yonaguni to the arid expanses of Egypt, we find ourselves standing before some of the most iconic and mysterious structures ever built by human hands, the pyramids of Giza. While the pyramids are the most well-known symbol of Egypt's ancient grandeur, there are other equally enigmatic sites scattered across this ancient land. One such site is Saqqara, a vast burial ground and necropolis that once served as the royal cemetery for the Old Kingdom pharaohs. It is here, in the shadow of the Great Step Pyramid of Djoser, that a curious and perplexing set of carvings has captured the imagination of those who have studied it, the so-called helicopter carvings. These peculiar images, which were found in the tomb of Amenhotep II in Saqqara, depict what appear to be modern flying machines, objects that resemble a helicopter, airplane, and even a submarine, despite the tomb being constructed over 3,000 years ago. The carvings, etched into the walls of this ancient tomb, show what looks unmistakably like a helicopter with its blades rotating above a sleek body, as well as other bizarre shapes that some interpret as advanced vehicles of the future. The presence of such figures in a tomb believed to belong to a New Kingdom pharaoh raises the question: how could these symbols, which resemble modern technology, appear in a period when no such machines existed? The first discovery of these carvings dates back to the late 19th century, but it was only in the 1990s that they began to attract widespread attention. Researchers and enthusiasts were struck by the startling resemblance to modern aircraft, particularly the distinct shape of the helicopter rotor blades and the tail structure. Among the more famous carvings, there is one image that clearly shows a flying craft with a pair of helicopter-like rotors on top, which has since been dubbed the helicopter carving. Others show strange, elongated shapes that some interpret as airplanes, while a submarine-like object can also be identified in the carving sequence. The question arises: could this be evidence of a futuristic vision or a misunderstanding of something the ancient Egyptians might have witnessed or even encountered? While most mainstream historians and Egyptologists argue that these carvings are the result of symbolic or religious art, others have suggested a far more intriguing theory, that these carvings represent actual visitors from the sky, beings with advanced flying technology who may have made contact with the Egyptians, potentially explaining the depiction of helicopter-like and airplane-like craft. One theory, popular among ancient astronaut theorists, suggests that the Egyptians were not simply inspired by earthly observations when creating these carvings, but may have been influenced by extraterrestrial visitors, beings from another world, capable of traveling through the skies in craft far beyond the understanding of the ancient Egyptians. Could these sky gods, who were often depicted as descending from the heavens in glowing ships or chariots of fire, have left a mark on Egyptian art? The idea that ancient civilizations may have witnessed technology far beyond their own time is certainly not a new one. Similar accounts appear across various cultures, from the Maya and Inca in the Americas to the Mesopotamians and Greeks in the Near East. The iconography of the helicopter carvings raises yet another question. Could the symbols be representing metaphors or religious visions rather than actual physical craft? Ancient Egyptians were known for their rich symbolism in art and architecture. Their gods often took on forms that could be interpreted as something otherworldly, the falcon-headed Horus or the ram-headed Amun. What if the carvings were not meant to be literal depictions of flying machines, but symbols of divine power or otherworldly beings, the gods themselves, who were said to travel between the heavens and the earth? The use of these strange shapes could symbolize the heavenly chariots of the gods, representing their divine flight rather than depicting actual machines. But if the carvings are indeed metaphors, why would the helicopter and airplane images be so precisely detailed? The carving's unusual accuracy, particularly in the depiction of the rotors and tail structures, makes it hard to dismiss the possibility that these ancient images could be representing something tangible, something that defies the conventional understanding of ancient Egyptian culture. Were these images inspired by a real encounter with flying vehicles, whether of terrestrial or extraterrestrial origin? As with many ancient mysteries, there is no consensus on the true meaning of the helicopter carvings. Critics argue that the similarity to modern aircraft is merely coincidental. The shapes, they claim, may have been stylized representations of other objects, or even fantastical creatures, which were not meant to be taken as depictions of actual technology. Some scholars have suggested that the images might represent symbolic representations of power or divine control over the sky, but the detailed resemblance to modern flying machines remains a puzzling feature. There is, of course, another possibility. Could these carvings be part of an ancient narrative that has somehow transcended the boundaries of time and place? Could the Egyptians have received knowledge or inspiration from beings who had technology that far outpaced their own? In ancient cultures, the gods were often described as coming down from the heavens in chariots of fire, blazing ships, or clouds of smoke. Perhaps in the minds of the ancient Egyptians, these otherworldly visits were translated into the forms of vehicles they could understand, heavenly chariots or flying ships, shaped into the powerful, symbol-laden carvings we see today. Yet, even as we consider these questions, we are faced with an uncomfortable reality. There are few definitive answers. The Saqqara helicopter carvings remain a mystery, with no conclusive explanation for why these shapes, so eerily reminiscent of modern technology, appear in a tomb built millennia ago. Were they the product of symbolic art, an expression of divine power? Or are they, in fact, the remnants of an ancient encounter with something that defied explanation, an event or visitation from a far distant past that humanity may never fully comprehend? In the end, the carvings at Saqqara invite us to look beyond the conventional interpretations of history and ponder the possibilities that lie at the intersection of myth, art, and technology. If these carvings represent something beyond the scope of ancient Egyptian knowledge, what else might we discover as we continue to uncover the secrets of our distant past? What other mysteries might be hidden beneath the layers of time, waiting to be uncovered? As we shift our focus from the monumental carvings of Saqqara to the dense jungles of South America, we find ourselves exploring the mysterious realm of the Quimbaya civilization, a culture whose artifacts continue to bewilder and inspire. Nestled in what is now Colombia, the Quimbaya were known for their highly advanced goldsmithing and intricate artwork, particularly the renowned Quimbaya artifacts. Among these artifacts, however, there are some objects that stand out not for their beauty, but for their uncanny resemblance to modern flying creatures. Figures so striking in their appearance that some have even suggested they may represent ancient depictions of airplanes or spacecraft. In the golden hoards of the Quimbaya, a collection of figures and figurines were discovered, some of which depict flying creatures resembling modern-day aircraft in their shape and construction. These figures, typically crafted from gold and other materials, show remarkably detailed depictions of winged animals, beings with broad, sweeping wings, tail sections, and rotors, features that seem unnervingly close to the design of contemporary flying machines. The most famous of these is the Quimbaya Gold Flyer, a small but striking artifact that some believe closely resembles a modern airplane or even a helicopter. This golden figure has an elongated body, clearly delineated wings, and an overall shape that makes it hard to dismiss as a mere coincidence. Upon closer inspection, the body and tail sections appear so precise that they beg the question: could the Quimbaya have had knowledge of flight technology long before the invention of airplanes? These flying creature figures have drawn comparisons to the ancient astronaut theory, which proposes that extraterrestrial visitors might have interacted with early human civilizations, influencing their cultures and technologies. Proponents of this theory suggest that the Quimbaya, along with other ancient peoples, may have witnessed flying crafts, perhaps even spaceships, and incorporated these experiences into their art. The intricate details of the winged figures, the possible resemblance to aerodynamic vehicles, and the very notion of flight in a culture predating modern aviation by thousands of years are tantalizing clues that continue to captivate researchers. However, there are many who argue that the flying figures are not representations of aircraft or extraterrestrial visitation, but rather symbolic or mythological depictions of gods or spirits. The Quimbaya culture, like many other ancient societies, was steeped in spirituality and mythology, and the flying creatures could simply represent divine beings or messengers of the gods. In this interpretation, the wings could be viewed as symbols of the ability to transcend earthly bounds, or to travel between realms, an heavenly ascent that is central to many mythologies across the world. But even this explanation raises more questions than answers. If these figures are symbolic, why are they so precise and detailed in their construction? What purpose did they serve in a society that likely had no concept of modern flight? If the Quimbaya were simply trying to depict mythical creatures or divine beings, why would they choose to craft them with such apparent technological sophistication? These questions continue to puzzle scholars, leaving us with only more speculation. Another theory posits that the flying creatures may represent the Quimbaya's knowledge of nature, specifically the winged creatures in their environment. In South America, the jungle is home to a diverse range of flying animals, from birds of prey to insects to bats. It's possible that the Quimbaya were simply drawing inspiration from the creatures they saw around them, with the figures serving as representations of nature rather than of extraterrestrial technology. Could the ancient people of South America have made intricate, symbolic representations of the flight patterns and structures of animals they encountered? If so, this might explain why the wings and tail sections of the figures are so prominent in the carvings. Yet, as we consider these interpretations, we cannot help but reflect on the remarkable similarities between these ancient figures and modern aircraft. Could the Quimbaya civilization, with its renowned mastery of gold working, have created such accurate and sophisticated depictions without the aid of a much greater knowledge base than we typically attribute to them? Perhaps the answer lies not in the symbolic, mythological, or natural world, but in the possibility that ancient peoples may have had access to knowledge and technologies that have been lost to time. Could it be that the flying creature figures are a product of a long-forgotten civilization that had advanced knowledge of flight, or even extraterrestrial visitors who shared that knowledge with the Quimbaya? If so, where did this knowledge come from, and why did it vanish? These are questions we may never answer, but they provide a tantalizing glimpse into the complexity of human history and the mysteries that still remain hidden beneath the layers of time. There is also the question of how these artifacts were crafted. The Quimbaya were known for their extraordinary craftsmanship, particularly in their ability to work with gold. But the precision required to create such aerodynamic designs, even with the advanced metalworking skills of the time, raises another mystery. Could they have been inspired by something greater than human observation alone? Were these figures simply artistic interpretations of winged animals? Or did the Quimbaya have access to something that allowed them to conceptualize flight long before humanity had the means to achieve it? Ultimately, the Quimbaya flying creature figures remain an enigma, a mysterious artifact of a civilization that continues to defy conventional understanding. Whether they represent gods, advanced technology, or nature's flight, the intricacy and oddity of these golden creations challenge our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations. As we ponder the possible meanings of these figures, we must also ask, what might be hidden in the ancient records of human history that we have yet to uncover? Could the truth of these figures lie in the spaces between myth, symbol, and reality? The mystery of the Quimbaya flying creature figures is far from solved, and as with many ancient mysteries, we are left to wonder. What other artifacts, knowledge, or truths might remain buried, waiting for discovery? Could there be more clues hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right mind to make the connection? The past is a vast, shadowy landscape, and perhaps these mysterious figures are just one more piece of the puzzle that might eventually reveal a greater story, a story that transcends time, space, and our understanding of what it means to be human. Another intriguing aspect of these figures is how modern observers often interpret them through the lens of contemporary technology. When viewed today, many people notice similarities between the shapes of the artifacts and modern aircraft, such as delta wings or vertical stabilizers. This resemblance has fueled speculation that ancient artisans may have been depicting something more mechanical than biological. However, it is also possible that our modern perspective is influencing the way we interpret these ancient objects, projecting familiar technological forms onto symbols that originally carried very different meanings. Archaeologists and historians generally approach the mystery with caution, emphasizing the cultural and symbolic context of the artifacts. Many scholars believe that the figures likely represent stylized animals, insects, or mythological creatures that held spiritual significance for the Quimbaya people. In ancient cultures, artistic representations were often exaggerated or abstract, blending elements of real creatures with symbolic features meant to convey power, movement, or divine qualities. From this perspective, the unusual shapes of the figures may reflect artistic creativity rather than evidence of forgotten technology. Yet the fascination with these artifacts continues precisely because they resist a single clear explanation. The Quimbaya flying creature figures remind us that history is rarely simple or fully understood. Each discovery from the ancient world invites us to ask deeper questions about how early civilizations observed nature, expressed ideas, and imagined possibilities far beyond their immediate reality. Whether interpreted as art, symbolism, or something more mysterious, these golden objects continue to spark curiosity and inspire ongoing exploration into humanity's distant past.